people say he's done something that goes beyond the pale, he will shake his head and give this answer without fail. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he says he tells no lies and that he never jokes. Confronting with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. A modern Don Quixote, he hates the windmills, claiming to protect the birds and whales he says they kill. But don't believe that story, it's really just a shill. He just did not want to see them wild golfing on Scottish hills. A hoax, he said it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, changing a storm path with black marker strokes. Confronted with the truth, to say it's all a hoax. Casting mail-in ballots is something that he's done. Now he wants to ban them for each and every one. He claims it's for integrity in each election, but he won't believe the results unless it's him that's won. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, they'll fool you with distractions like real sugar in Cokes. Confronted with the truth, you'll say it's all a hoax. He promised to release all the Epstein files that caused all the MAGA base to react with smiles. But how long has he put it off? It sure has been a while, and now he's calling this a hoax, protecting pedophiles. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he'll keep on gaslighting up until he croaks. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax.
Trump piled debt, trillions tall. Promised Mexico would fund that wall. Praised dictators, said they're strong. Had Joe done it, they'd say he's wrong. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd scream foul play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Goes through crises, storms, and more. Called soldiers losers who died in war. Hire his kids to run DC. If it was Hunter, they'd scream treachery. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, the numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, Fox News would say our day. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Love Kim Jong-un, he wrote love letters that take the guns first, lose those rights forever. Signed you spending bills with glee. Had Joe done that, it'd be tyranny. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they shall look today. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Kept secret files, countless untold. Said Putin's word was good as gold. Invited the Taliban to come to U.S. soil. If Joe had done that, they'd all recoil. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd want him to pay. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Double standards loud and clear. Rules for Trump, but not for peers. What they call treason, if Joe's the name, is patriotism when Donald's to blame. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden
This just in. A sudden spike in logic levels across the city. Citizens report seeing a man with glasses and a podcast mic. We go now live to Liberal Dan.
Yo, who you gonna call when Nazi writings on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, cause you know we got a plan. The right wing talking shit, but he ain't about to quit. He'll take his proton pack and zap your logic cause it's whack. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall.
It's being reported that Liberal Dan is setting up what appears to be some sort of straw man containment field.
He's calling out your lies with his mic, he'll vaporize. Cross the streams in your dreams, bitch, you know that he's too wise. You're like Slimer talking crap, but you walked into his trap. Yo, it's more than entertainment, it's misinformation contained. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall. The Statue Liberty, the writing you can't see. So bring the huddled masses, it's a war of the classes. While Trump may think he's Vigo, Dan can cut through that ego. He's got the facts to prove him wrong, got that logic like Egon. Your logic is a ghost, cause you know this chick is toast. When you follow MTG, it's conspiracy, you'll see. There's no need to taser, he's got wit like Occam's razor. Liberal Dan cuts those lies with his Jewish-based laser.
It's unbelievable. Liberal Dan just used a literal dog whistle to lure a large group of internet trolls into what is being called a self-collapsing rhetoric singularity. In all my years of reporting, I've never seen anything like this.
So don't call to be a heckler, you ain't no Judge Rexler. He'll bust you like Scolary, cause your logic's looking hairy. Right-wing callers think they're cool, but they sounding just like Zool. You the dog, he the man, and yo, his name is Liberal Dan. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall. Liberal Dan, Liberal Dan, Liberal Dan.
Claimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. Faux patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water. They're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A leftist voice on air, exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. Unmasking hypocrisy, the truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. Cause Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left. That's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you live from New Orleans, Louisiana, the home of Mardi Gras. And because we are the home of Mardi Gras, there was one of my wife's favorite parades tomorrow night, which is Muses. There's some other parades that happen at the same time as well. However, because Muses tomorrow night, Liberal Dan Radio won't be tomorrow night. So you have a day off of Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left. That's right. I encourage you to, if you want to, if you miss me tomorrow, you can watch the best of playlist that I have, a bunch of different collections of shows or whatever. You can go help the algorithm out other ways. I'm sure other videos will post like shorts and stuff. So if you want to help the show out that way, please do that as well. The best way to help the show, if you haven't subscribed yet, is to subscribe and also like, share, comment, make longer comments. The longer the better, apparently, on any of the existing videos. But you could also Liberal Dan on Venmo, buy me a cider, go to buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio, or go to liberaldan.com, click the Buy Me Cider button, or become a patron, patreon.com/liberaldan, or patreon.liberaldan.com. Either way, get you there as well. Anyway, shouts out to Short Shit Every Game, Aaron over on the Church City goes, oh, Hal isn't having a show tomorrow either. Maybe I'll have to watch Pam Bondi's full testimony. We're going to watch some of Pam Bondi's testimony today, but we're not going to do the full shebang or whatever, but we will watch some of it. I have to wake up early to have my last physical therapy for my knee tomorrow. It doesn't necessarily mean that my knee is fully whatever, but there's some reasons why I don't want to extend my health care past this week. I'm supposed to have health insurance at my current job through the end of the month, but there are reasons. So thank you for the subscribe with Prime for 4 months on a 3-month streak. Thank you, Jolie, showing you how to subscribe to Liberal Dan Radio over on Twitch with your free Amazon Prime subscription. So thank you for that. Appreciate you for that. And as for all the other things you and Aaron do for the show, thank you for that. I wonder if it's time for me to also resubscribe with my Nerdy Dan account, because I think I did it later in the month, but let's see. I still am a person who is subscribed that way. So, although I do have to fix it up or whatever. I do have to change it around so that we have the Liberal Dan Radio have the one holding the Amazon Prime membership, so that I can make sure to have videos available for longer for people to see here on Twitch. So shouts out for everybody who watches it over on Twitch. If I wanted to watch Regina George read from her burn book, I'd turn on Mean Girls. Nice. Also over on YouTube, shouts out to Aaron and Jolie, Vanessa, Jackie, Suzanne, Molly, it's a joy to see you. Steve from across the pond.
It's no Scottish, it's crap.
Yes, and Hoosier Scott, good to see you, Scott. Thank you for joining. Dean. Dean was in the hospital for osteomyelitis. I hope you are better now, or feeling a little bit better at least, hopefully. Thanks for joining us. Anyway, so let's see what we gonna talk about today. We're gonna go over a lot of the show. Will probably be going over the Pam Bondi video, at least some of the clips from her interactions with some of the Republicans and some of the Democrats. We're not going to do all of them. I don't have the time to do all that. I'm sure y'all don't want to do all that, but there are some bits and pieces in there, and I think I got the clips from the right ones where she just goes completely unhinged, full on rage, MAGA, whatever. There was the shooting in British Columbia. So apparently a young woman shot her stepbrother and her mom before going to the school, and I guess shooting herself ended up dead, plus 6 other people. It's a terrible story, but I think there's more information that needs to come out before we're going to cover that here on the show. But would be sure in saying, look, it seems like American gun culture is spreading across the world now, I guess, right? Crazy gun people are everywhere, regardless of how well you think you have it clamped down, or how well you think you're doing is keeping people, or the people who shouldn't have guns, away from the guns. I mean, I have no problem with law-abiding citizens having guns, owning guns, whatever, but when it comes to making sure that we need to have safeguards and protections and stuff like that, that is not an infringement on your rights to own guns. And yes, I don't know, there's not a official Second Amendment in Canada, but still, people still do what they're gonna do, and evil people are still gonna be evil. Hey, 250 kilo ohm, good to see you. Let's see, what else do we want to talk about before? I have a feeling that Hal's probably rating Boston Brian tonight, so we're not going to necessarily wait to do all the good shit, or good shit in my eyes. I don't know. Maybe y'all will think it's crap or whatever. Yeah, the FAA closing the airspace around the El Paso airport, and they announced that it was going to be closed for 10 days. 10 days! But then it magically reopened because apparently, supposedly, there were cartel drones that were being shot down. Now, do I believe that there were cartel drones being shot down? I don't believe anything that comes from this administration. So it could have been for a myriad of reasons. But why would you say 10 days when it's not going to be 10 days? Imagine the panic you put across like the air industry about people who needed to go in and out of El Paso, who were like trying to now scramble once they heard that announcement that the El Paso, it's not tacos, the El Paso airport was going to be shut down for 10 days, and people were probably starting to scramble, say, oh my god, what are we going to do, but then they're like, okay, it was only like an hour or so, or maybe a little bit more, but not 10 days. This is, again, a problem with this administration, how they refuse to measure twice before cutting. They make these big grandiose announcements, and then it winds up, blowing up in their faces. What else is new? So could there have been a drone that was shot down that was like a cartel drone? Maybe. But in my mind, I have no reason to believe that, because we have no reason to believe anything that comes out of this administration. So, and what else? Imagine if Biden closed the airspace around the El Paso airport.
Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, the screen fell play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
I just realized something too, also, that usually I'm kind of looking this way when I'm looking, like when I look this way, I see here, but then I like kind of see this going here, and it looks like it's more gray over here. So it looks like I have this weird beard line right here, and then this is lighter because of the gray. And I'm wondering, I know people like, salt and pepper on their older dudes or whatever, but I'm wondering if I need to use a little bit of just for men or whatever, just to kind of get that fixed, because it looks like it looks really weird. Like, I mean, is it just me, or does it look like just I have a weird shaved line here, even though there is a beard here and a beard here? I don't know. What's your opinion? Leave your comments in the chat about whether or not my beard looks weird with the mixture of gray and, like, it looks like I purposefully did that, and I did not purposely do it, because again, this is all hair, but it's just the weird little, it's like almost like I should get Nike to sponsor the show because it's a little swoosh. So, Josh sees, just ferment. You want me to use alcohol? I mean, buy me a cider. That is fermented apple juice, right? So if you buy me a cider, I could have some just ferment, right? Aaron's like, leave the gray the way it is. We'll see. Anyway, fancy old time stash. Really start twirling it. Yeah, see, I have this fancy stash. See, yeah. I know it's called the salt and pepper look, but normally it's like kind of mixed in or whatever. I'm up here, I'm fine with it or whatever. I mean, sometimes my wife makes fun of me for the gray, even though she's just as gray because we both have 2 kids, not just me. And she's married to me too, which adds to her stress. But yeah, it's bizarre looking, and I realized it the other day, and I'm still looking at it now, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, it looks like I purposely did some of those weird, like, hipster things with my hair. So, anyway, weird beard. You were almost a Trump. Yeah. I have the best beard. Nobody has a better beard than I do. Nobody has a good weird. Let's see on this side. It's just it's just a little bit of gray and brown. But this side, it's completely different. Anyway, so apparently Trump once invited all of the governors except for Maryland and Colorado to some governor thing, but then apparently the Governors Association said that they weren't going to be at the White House like they normally do it. I guess, I don't know, because he didn't invite 2 of them or whatever. And I guess the head of the Governors Association is Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt. And this is an interesting thing here. When Kevin Stitt, the very mediocre at best, Rhino, governor of Oklahoma, was losing his election to a Democrat, primarily because he did a bad job. He called for my help. I endorsed him and he won. Sorry, my cherished Oklahoma, to have done this to you, President Donald John Trump. And you know what the most surprising thing about this is? The most surprising thing about that post from Donald John Trump, the president of these United States. I didn't know he actually knew the word sorry existed. The fact that the word sorry is in his vocabulary is just shocking to me. Like, I can't believe he actually said the word. And now he has no excuse. Before, I was like, maybe he doesn't know that it's a word that exists in the English language, so therefore he'll never apologize. But he literally now just said sorry. Or I'm sorry, for you folks up there in Canada, it's sorry. But he said sorry. So there's no excuse anymore. He knows how to use the word. Now we can criticize him for his not using it when he's supposed to use it. Like, you know, when posting racist, easy for me to say, when posting racist pictures of the Obamas and such on his Truth Social account as well. He could easily say sorry, but he didn't then. But he says sorry for endorsing a rhino, apparently, a supposed rhino. It's like the episode of SpongeBob where Squidward struggled so hard to say sorry he had to say it into a pickle jar. And I have the best pickle jars. Nobody has better pickle jars than me. So yeah, there's that. I was shooketh at the whole idea that Donald Trump actually knew the word sorry. As actually, I would say, as Canadians, and my wife says, because for some reason, despite the fact that my wife has never once set foot into Canada, I have, but she has never been to Canada once, but she says sorry like a Canadian, which is funny. So I always pick on her for like, sorry, not sorry. Exactly. Don't want to be a Canadian idiot. Anyway, so I was going to get into a whole... I think I have a new playlist idea that I want to do. One of my New Year's bingo resolutions things is to come up with a new playlist idea for the show. Above and beyond the whole new thing of Liberal Dan Radio After Dark, which again is coming once my job situation is all fully settled. But there is this idea of the difference between the left and the right. And I had one little clip where I did discuss where I believe the left and the right are different. But one of the other main differences between the left and the right is when we get angry and when they get angry. We get angry, but we get angry at injustices that happen to other people. They get angry when we question the injustices that they do to other people. That's one of the main differences between the left and the right, is why and when we get angry. Of course, we're going to go over one of those examples of a MAGA sycophant who just got completely unhinged and angry at today's hearings, a.k.a. Pam Bondi, a.k.a. The idiot in charge of the Department of Justice, the one who, you know, is helping to protect crimes of pedophilia. And if you watch some of it today, you would know. I mean, I had it on in the background for some of the day as I was doing my work, but she is completely unhinged. Trump has a shiitake mushrooms, and look, shiitake happens, right? But one of the things before we get into that, and I'm assuming he's rating Hal. Hal's rating Brian today, I'm sure, because, you know, whatever. I mean, I appreciate Hal whenever he does it, but, you know, for some reason, Brian said, let's do a show when Dan does a show. Anyway, you know, just poking at him, not really bad. I'm thrilled that everything is going as well as it is going with the podcast or whatever. But Hal, earlier, just a few minutes ago, was covering Donald Trump and energy, and Trump was talking about energy, and it was like, Edison was the man who lit the world. And immediately my brain went to The Man Who Sold the World by David Bowie, or maybe more well-known at this point by Nirvana during their Unplugged sessions or whatever. And so I came up with one line of a potential parody that I thought Hal should say, and Andrea over there was like, I can't wait to hear your parody. I was like, I'll be singing that during my show. I can't wait to hear the parody. And I was like, there is no way in hell that I'm going to be able to come up with a parody, a full-ass parody to a song in 20 minutes. And then I had to say that I lied because 10 minutes later, I had a parody written. And I'm not going to have karaoke music on the background or whatever. But let's actually... Let me just change one lyric there before I start singing because this one's whatever. So it took me 9 minutes. The song's only 2 verses and a chorus, and the chorus gets repeated a lot at the end or whatever. But yeah, Josh, Trump may have a shiitake mushroom, but he doesn't have a morale. He doesn't have morals or a morale, right? Anyway, so here is my... you're hearing it for the first time ever on Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right. Doing it live, no music behind me because I don't want the copyright, you know, because even when you do karaoke versions of it, they don't, you know, they still get copyright flags, so I don't want to do that. Maybe I'll see if I can record it better at some later time. I am doing it live. I'm just not going to do it live without the music behind me at first. You're going to get the a cappella version of the parody of Donald Trump's version of The Man Who Sold the World. I was imitating Bill O'Reilly. Oh, Jesus. Just right over my head. Anyway. I thought I passed some gas. It came at my rear end. Sitting in my brown chair. In front of MAGA friends. But then to my surprise, you saw it in their eyes. Something died up there all alone. A long, long time ago. Doom, 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 doom. Who knows? Not me. You can tell by my rants. You're face to face with the man who shit his pants. I folded up my hands. My pants were filled with foam. And I refused to stand until the press was gone. Ruined my underwear. And I did not have a spare. Something died up there alone. A long, long time ago. Doom, 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 doom. Who knows? Not me. You can tell by my rants. You're face to face with the man who shit his pants. Who knows? Not me. You can tell by my rants. You're face to face with the man who shit his pants. Anyway, that's it. The Man Who Shit His Pants is the parody. What do you think of my parody that I wrote in 10 minutes? You could say, some people on Twitch say it's good, but, you know, as Trump says...
It is what it is.
Yeah, dum 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 dum. So I'm not a professional comedian. I'm no Hal Sparks whatsoever. I'm no Weird Al Yankovic, but you know, when the muse hits me, I make a parody, and there you go. That'll be a #1 shit song. It's the shittiest song you've ever heard. Liberal Dan Radio brings you that might not be the best parody that you've ever heard, but it's definitely #2. You owe Bowie an apology. I'm sorry. Unlike actually no, I would say like Donald Trump learned a new word. He said sorry, so I guess I can say sorry to David Bowie or to. I mean, I guess I have to say sorry to both of them, but to both either Kurt Cobain or to Bowie, because Cobain probably made it more legendary than Bowie's version. But yeah, Dean says you're good at parodies. Oh, thank you. Old clean coal, yeah. Gotta love clean coal. House talked about something about, you know, how Trump might want to, you know, it's so good. Coal is so good. We need to make have cars move with them or whatever. I'm like, don't give him any ideas. He'll try and make coal cars now, and he'll think it'll be the greatest. We'll have the greatest cars running on coal. It'll like no one's ever seen. Straight to that's right, Liberal Dan Radio bringing you his number 2 parody, going straight to the top of the charts. The man who shit his pants, Donald Trump. Hey, Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Y'all do come in with some great puns after at least I lob them up for you and you just hit them out the park. Hello, Tim. Thank you for joining the show as well. And thank you, Josh, for being here as well. So, yeah. Anyway, is there anything else I really wanted to talk about before we get to the Bondi stuff? I needed to put the air on. It's actually starting to get warm in my house because I haven't flipped the air from warm to cool, and it's actually above 70 in New Orleans now, so I might be sweating a little bit during the show simply because of that. Hey, Janelle, how are you? Janelle, if you missed it, rewind back like 3 or 4 minutes because you missed my parody. Although hopefully it was short enough that it'll come up. It'll come up in the what Opus Clips makes or whatever. Hopefully, we'll see. Anyway, I will definitely have to try and make a karaoke version of that and post that later too. We will see how that goes. He shit your pants. It's not his fault. It's Biden's. Can you imagine if Biden had sat there behind the Resolute desk and shit his pants?
Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, the screen fell play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
Molly, did I know you're from Baton Rouge? But awesome for a fellow Louisianan, right? Steampunk is back, baby. I don't know, what did Swalwell do? I don't have Swalwell queued up as one of my as one of the videos to watch or a review with Swalwell versus Blondie or whatever. Blah, 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 easy for me to say. I have a couple of other ones that I have queued up, like Ted Lieu, Kylie, Roy, Raskin, Hagman, Crockett, Massey, Jayapal, Biggs, Lofgren, and that's all that I have queued up currently. So, and I was thinking about doing the rest of the video of the pro-life idiots from yesterday, but I don't have the time. I didn't have the time to do that tonight simply because of the fact that I didn't realize that Pam Bondi was going to go live. Apparently, I need to put a voicemail message up there on my on Liberal Dan Radio, and maybe that could be also another thing I could do is basically have it go to voicemail, and people can leave me voicemails, and we can play unhinged voicemails coming from the right, or anybody else who wants to leave a voicemail as well, and we can make that part of the show as well. If maybe that'll be a bit that I can do too. Leave Liberal Dan Radio a voicemail at whatever 562-LibDan1, but we're not opening up the phone lines. Probably not opening up the phone lines tonight because, again, I have to wake up a little early in the morning, make sure my kid gets to school. Might have to do a little bit of work before I bring my kid to school, and then I have to go to physical therapy. So it is what it is. So anyway, I'm sorry. That's Donald Trump's line.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. Anyway, and of course the Pam Bondi.
No one is above the law in this country.
I have a feeling we'll be playing that one a lot during the replaying of her conversations with individuals. And again, this is not coming in any sort of order. The order that these are going to come in are just kind of random. So, and actually, before we do that, let's just look up that. Let's just look up. Pam Bondi Swalwell hearing. There we go. Let's do that one first. We'll do, since everyone's saying that Swalwell was a disappointment, we'll do Swalwell first. We won't do him first.
Oh my.
But we will cover Swalwell first since y'all said it was a disappointment, and I don't think I heard Swalwell talking, so we'll cover Swalwell first so I can see what it is that y'all will see, and I'll say whether or not I agree or disagree. Can we put pro-life in air quotes and or just call them anti-abortion? There's nothing pro-life about these motherfuckers. I think I have done that here on Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from Life. That's right. I won't be like pro-life and then I'll say anti-abortion or anti-choice or whatever it is. But yeah, usually Swalwell is somebody who you absolutely can count on to deliver. Unlike, you know, the post office under DeJoy. But all right, so we're gonna do Swalwell first. Janelle, listen to your song, pretty good. Thank you, appreciate you. And now you're are you fast forwarded back to the start of the coverage or whatever? Maybe, I don't know. Hey, Lainey, what's going on? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us as well. Swalwell is swell. Be swell, vote Swalwell, right? Imagine if Biden had tried to say that he was above the law.
Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, that scream foul play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
Anyway, so here we go. Here we are. There's old Pam herself with her hit list or whatever, her book. I mean, I don't even think I took the Moskowitz one up either, and that one was hilarious. I mean, just his whole, hey, here's a can you open up your book to my page to see what opposition research you have about me? That was freaking hilarious as well. But again, we're not going over everybody's testimony in the hearing or everybody's questions in the hearing or whatever you want to call what happened in this hearing. But we will go over some Republicans, some Democrats, simply because of the fact that she took some of the opportunities to respond to her Democrats during her Republican colleagues' time. So anyway, here is Swalwell asking with questions for Pam Bondi in the
Madam
hearing.
Attorney General, you acknowledged earlier to Mr. Johnson that President Trump was mentioned and the release countless times, you said, in the Epstein files. I just want to play a video, though, for you that I think speaks to the frustration that many of these victims have. Of times Trump's name appears in the files, so it could at least be 1,000 times. Is that right?
The number is a total misleading factor. We have not released anyone's name in the Epstein files that has not been credible.
Director, could it at least be 1,000 times?
We have released every piece of legally permissible information.
Okay,
you can characterize the numbers however you want it.
Claiming my time, Director. It sounds like if you don't know the number, it could at least be 1,000 times.
It's not. It's not.
Is it at least 500 times?
No.
Is it at least 100 times?
No.
Then what's the number?
I don't know the number.
I understand why the victims are frustrated, and the Attorney General acknowledged what Mr. Patel would not acknowledge, that it was way more than 1,000 times. But I want to move, Madam Attorney General, to weaponization of government. And yesterday it was reported that 6 members of Congress had indictments sought against him, and they were not returned by a grand jury. My colleagues have spoken about their frustration of being in subpoenas and having cell phone records combed through. Well, in 2017 and 2018.
Who was, I don't know who was laughing, Lainey. I think it was somebody who was either in the audience or maybe one of the other Congress people.
Adam Schiff and I had our cell phone records and email records combed through, not by you, but a different Department of Justice under the president. It was in retaliation for our role in the Russia interference campaign. An Inspector General report would find this improper and that the predicate for it was absurd. In 2020, after sitting on 2 committees that were a part of the president's first impeachment, an FBI agent leaked my cooperation in a national security case where my campaign was targeted. The president's FBI senior leadership authorized 2 statements to the press that said I was never suspected of wrongdoing and only helped the investigation. But that didn't stop the death threats or my GOP colleagues from referring me to an ethics investigation where Kevin McCarthy's chairman on the ethics committee would find the same thing as the FBI. Our current FBI director would then write a book called Government Gangsters and identify a long list of enemies. About a quarter of them have been either investigated or indicted. He listed me at the very top, along with Adam Schiff, and during that same testimony, refused to...
Oh, I thought it was Shifty Schiff. Oh, that's what Trump calls him. I'm sorry.
...recuse himself when asked if he would recuse if any case came across his desk involving me or people on that list. Since that testimony, his department has put me under investigation with Senator Schiff for the nonsense mortgage fraud cases that we've seen. I get it. This is what the president does. I've priced it in. We have a bingo card at home that my kids have made of what will come next. I expected that the president would come after his enemies. But what I want to talk to you next is serious, and I did not expect this would happen, and I'd like your help on it. The president has inspired death threats against me and many sitting up here with me. In June 2025, an individual left 11 voicemails at my district office. On the voicemails, they said, "Get the message to him. I'm going to hunt him down, that motherfucker, and toss his ass over the Golden Gate Bridge by my
language.
My fucking self." Donald Trump's Department of Justice in the Northern District of California declined to prosecute. On May 14, 2025, on Twitter, responding to something I posted, an individual said, "No, it wasn't Eric, and now I'm going to kill you." The Department of Justice from the Southern District of Texas declined to prosecute. May through December of 2025, we received messages.
Could you imagine if Joe Biden had decided to not prosecute somebody who made threats like that against a sitting congressperson?
Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, the screen fell play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
Messages at my office that said, "I hope somebody shoots you and your children and your wife in the head. Pew, pew, motherfucker, pew, pew." I would stay indoors as much as possible, and my children, unfortunately, have to do that. The Department of Justice has not charged this individual and cited that he's a prolific caller and has health conditions, although what we have found in our own investigation and his voicemails is that he has said he will employ others to do this. The president can come after me. It's fine. I'm in the arena. So are these folks. But we never expected that the Department of Justice would not seek to prosecute and investigate those who are making threats against us. And that would include those on that side of the aisle. And I'm just asking for your help to protect life, because life is at risk with the environment we're in right now.
Congressman, I completely agree with you. I know about several of those personally involving you. I believe one has been charged publicly, and there's something I would be happy to talk to you about off camera, but I can assure you that they are very serious. They are being looked into.
Bullshit. I don't believe you one word, because you're a member of the Donald Trump administration, and the Donald Trump administration is full of shit and lies, and, no reason to believe anything you say. Proof is in the pudding. Do it. Don't talk about it.
And I can give you more details on those. None of you should be threatened, ever. None of your children should be threatened. None of your families should be threatened. And I will work with, you can come into my office any day. I will work with all of you on both sides of the aisle if you are ever threatened. And I'll gladly talk to you after this hearing about your cases. But I can tell you some of them are very active.
Appreciate that. Now yield back.
Support.
Okay, so I mean, yeah, that had nothing to do with the Epstein survivors. And so if this is supposed to be a hearing about how Pam Bondi was dealing with the Epstein survivors specifically, then yeah, maybe he should, make a point to say, look, but if that was a hearing about the DOJ in general, I mean, he put her on the spot and asked her a specific question, hoping for specific actions. And now, if she doesn't follow through with those actions, it gives him an ability to say, she promised that she would do X and she didn't do X. So while, again, it's not about the victims of Epstein and those crimes and Epstein and Epstein's, associates, which, Trump is named in that document over 1,000 times, more. So I get it, but I don't necessarily have the same problem that maybe other people might have had with that. So, hold on. All right, so let's see. Who's 60? Bondi? Is she really 60? Wow. Hey, Penny2Create, good to see you. Hey, Jeff from just north of Uranus. Let's see. But yeah, I mean, I get it. You should have been talking about, but did she ever really address the actual problems of, if you knew, I mean, I don't know where Swalwell went in the order of things. So if you knew that Bondi wasn't going to, do anything good for the people of that were there at the hearing, who all raised their hands that said that the Department of Justice have not contacted them, if you knew you weren't going to get a straight answer about that issue, then, I mean, sure, use your time for somebody else. Again, I understand the frustration that people might have with him for not asking questions about that, but if she showed herself to be unwilling to actually answer questions about, you know, the victims and when justice is coming for these victims, then maybe open up another front that you could hit her on as well, as it pertains to her ineptitude as Attorney General. So, anyway, so let's go ahead and we have Ted Lieu. Ted Lieu is the next one on cue. I kind of tried to do them in, you know, left, right, left, right, left, right order, but I picked up Swalwell at the end. So here we go. Here's old Ted Lieu. Let's see what he had to say to this piece of crap, Pam Bondi.
Thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for being here today. I'm going to show you two photos.
Thank you.
I'm going to show you two photos of former Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. Under the law Congress passed, you were allowed to redact photos to protect the victims of Epstein's sex trafficking operation. You redacted the photos of this victim's face because you were following the congressional law. Is that correct?
Right.
I'm sorry that we redacted the victim's
Because you were
face?
following the congressional law, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You have now established that please put the photos back up, that we are looking at a sex trafficking victim. Under the Federal Victims Trafficking Protection Act, not only is Jeffrey Epstein guilty, but anyone who patronizes Epstein's sex operation is also guilty of a crime. That's why I find it absolutely despicable that you sought to protect Epstein's clients, like former Prince Andrew. Last July, you closed the case on Epstein's abusers. The July 2025 memo from your Department of Justice stated, quote, "We did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties." These two photos, please put the photos back up. These two photos staring you in the face are evidence of a crime and more than enough evidence to predicate an investigation against former Prince Andrew. So I ask you, Attorney General Pam Bondi, why did you shut down this investigation last July, and why have you not prosecuted former Prince Andrew?
I don't believe you asked Merrick Garland these questions when he was Attorney General. And
whataboutisms. Gotta love the whataboutisms. Why didn't you do it with Merrick Garland? Well, you had active investigations into Ghislaine Maxwell up until, I think, 2024, and as such, you know, the Department of Justice under Biden was somewhat handcuffed when it comes to that. So don't look, again, and if it was wrong for Merrick, we have plenty of problems with Merrick Garland here on Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, That's Right. So, you know, saying, well, they didn't do it either is not an excuse. If it was wrong for them to not do it, then why is it okay? Don't hide behind other people's. Don't make other people an excuse. What's your reasons? What's your reasoning for not doing it?
I agree with you.
You twice.
I'm reclaiming my time. I agree with you. I agree with you. During the Biden administration, I called for people looking at Epstein files. Merrick Garland dropped the ball, as did Attorney General Bill Barr, as did Alex Acosta, a whole string of failures. But you are in charge. You have the power to change things, to hold these men accountable, and you're doing the opposite. You're protecting them. So I want to move on to another man.
Can I answer
Donald
that,
Trump.
though?
I want to move on to another
Can I
question.
answer your question about protecting
You
Prince
answered
Andrew?
the question.
You're saying no. I love this.
I want to discuss another man, Donald Trump, who is...
Well, you know, he only has 5 minutes, and they are very strict about the 5 minutes when it's the Democrats that are up there. So, you know.
All over the Epstein files, like former Prince. Here's a video.
I don't know, is that going to cause me to have a copyright strike? I don't know. Yeah, I'm probably going to get a copyright strike for that one. I might as well have done the live version of the parody.
Like former Prince Andrew, Donald Trump attended various parties with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to know, were there any underage girls at that party or at any party that Trump attended with Jeffrey Epstein?
This is so ridiculous, and that they are trying to deflect from all the great things Donald Trump has done.
All the great things Donald Trump has done. I don't care if he cured cancer. If he touched kids, he needs to go to prison. Like, I mean, he didn't cure cancer, and all the great things is a bunch of malarkey, but the idea that, and this audio is really freaking weird because for some reason, I guess PBS can't have the, you know, the sound be at the same time as the voice. I don't know. That's kind of weird. It's not happening on my end. It's happening on their end. So I don't know. But like, again, if Merrick Garland was wrong for not going after, not prosecuting Epstein's victims' perpetrators, then they were wrong. It's not an excuse for you to not do it. And now it's like all the great things that Donald Trump has done, nothing excuses bad behavior with children. And, you know, but you're going to try and make it so, which is why this person has no business being as head of the Department of Justice.
There is no evidence that Donald Trump has committed a crime. Everyone knows that. This has been the most...
No, everybody doesn't know that. There's evidence that exists in the files that actually says the opposite. There's his own words that say he committed crimes with other people. He was found civilly liable for sexual abuse against E. Jean Carroll. And in part of that proof that showed that he was, you know, responsible and civilly liable for that is his saying that E. Jean Carroll back in the day looked like Marla Maples, and B, because, you know, he was trying to say I wouldn't have done that with her because she was ugly, but then he confused her with Marla Maples. And then B, you know, when asked about his little comments on the you know, the locker room comments of grab him by the hoo-ha, guess what? He said, instead of saying, oh, that was just locker room talk, I wouldn't really do that, he says, yes, rich people can do that all they want. So, yeah.
Transparent presidency. He's the one that asked that those files.
I'm reclaiming my time.
I got you.
He asked for the files to be released. No, you're full of shit, Pam Bondi. He did not ask for the files to be released. He said that he would want the files to be released. You said, Pam Bondi, that the files were sitting on top of your desk, and then it took Congress forcing y'all to do it, and then y'all dragged your feet while Donald Trump's and other people's names, other people's criminals were redacted from the files. So no, he did not, of his own free will and own volition and all of his own kind heart, he did not do anything to help these victims get these documents released. It took Congress doing it, and it took a bipartisan effort on Congress because of the Speaker Johnson and all the other Republicans who have his back in covering up his potential pedophilia. You know, it took several Republicans to stand up and say, release the files.
Answer. You said there's no evidence.
Trump asked
Chairman, please stop the clock. Stop the clock.
The legislation. This is
ridiculous.
Time belongs to the gentleman from California.
Okay. I'm going to put up another document from a witness who called the FBI's National Threat Operations Center because I believe you just lied under oath. There is ample evidence in the Epstein file.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime.
I believe you.
Don't you ever accuse me of a crime. Don't accuse me. He said, I believe you did. He didn't say you did. He said it was his opinion that you did. So, you know, and if you're under oath and if you said a lie, guess what? You lied under oath, and that's a crime. Deal with it.
You just lied under oath, and this is all on videotape. You said there's no evidence of a crime. I'm showing you. Here is a witness statement who called.
You're a liar. You're a lying liar who lies.
Called into the FBI's Threat Operations Center. He drove Donald Trump around in a limo. He overheard what Donald Trump said to Jeffrey on his cell phone. He was so angry, he was going to stop the limo and hurt Donald Trump. And he met a girl who said she was raped by Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. She later had her head blown off, and officers at the scene said that could not have been suicide.
That's evidence. I mean, it's not 100% proof, but it's a piece of evidence. And she said there's no evidence, so either she's going to say I had no idea that existed, if to try and make it seem like, you know, she didn't lie and just said a falsehood. But, you know, let's see what old Pammy says.
No one at the Department of Justice interviewed this witness.
And according to Pam Bondi,
no one is above the law in this country.
But let's go on.
You need to interview this witness immediately. Epstein should rot in hell. So should the men who patronized his operation. And as we say here today, there are over 1,000 sex trafficking victims and you have not held a single man accountable. Shame on you. If you had any decency, you would resign right after this hearing concludes.
The gentleman has expired.
May I respond?
Yeah, I don't know how you respond. No one can.
I did not ask a question,
He
Mr.
doesn't
Head.
You're allowed to.
I did not ask a question.
I want to respond. That's not how this works. But of course, Johnson is going to, also somebody else who was, committed something similar, as some might say.
Crime in California. He does not want to talk about.
I did not ask.
Why would we talk about crime in California? I mean, why are you deflecting with crime in California?
Crime.
And why is the congressperson responsible for the crime in their district? Federal office holders, as it pertains to Congress, are not responsible for local crime in their areas. Crime is the responsibility of the municipalities in the state, not the people sitting in Congress. The people in Congress are supposed to represent their districts to do federal policies, not enforce state policies.
In his state.
You can't just add lip stuff. I did not ask a question.
Meeting will be in order. The gentleman has yielded back his
Oh, Jim Johnson in charge. I don't know how you could have order.
time. I think our next witness will be more than happy to let the Attorney General
Madam
respond.
Attorney General, would you like to?
Gentleman from Alabama is recognized for 5 minutes.
Alabama man.
You have a few minutes to respond.
Thank you, Congressman. This is what Congressman Liu didn't want to talk about. He didn't want to talk about all the crime that is happening in his
He didn't want to talk about all the crime.
state. California refuses to honor detainees because of its dangerous sanctuary city policy.
No such. How can California have a sanctuary city policy? California is a state, not a city. I would expect somebody who's Attorney General to understand the difference between a city and a state. Also, there's no such thing as sanctuary cities or sanctuary states. They might call themselves that, but cities and states have no authority, no permission, no whatever, no constitutional powers to act on immigration and naturalization laws. The power to control the border belongs to the federal government, according to the Constitution, and as such, Article 1, Section 8 gives Congress the power to pass those laws. As such, since it's a power given to the federal government, states do not get that power at the state level, or the local level for that matter, because the 10th Amendment only gives the states powers that are not given to the federal government, and also that are not restricted to them by the Constitution in and of itself. So the idea that they can at all be a sanctuary city is just full of nothing and BS. And I wish more people who are content creators on the left would actually start talking about that, because it is something that is not very well spoken of on our side of the aisle.
Policies. The refusal means California has released 4,561 criminal illegal aliens.
Have they?
Criminal.
Again, you also say that there's 0 people have crossed the border illegally since March. So I don't believe you anything that you say. Your numbers are meaningless to me, because again, the real moral of the story of The Boy Who Cried Wolf is if somebody lies, you stop believing them, and you're reasonable in not believing anything that they say. Unlike conservatives who took a different moral from that story.
Illegal aliens onto its street. The crimes
onto its street. One street? There's one street in California? Does it have a name? Where the streets have no name. Anyway.
These aliens include 31 homicides, 661 assaults.
So you're saying that California let people charged or convicted of homicide to go? Yeah, that doesn't make any sense either. Again, it doesn't pass the smell test. You're just full of shit, and you're trying to protect your pedophile protecting president, which makes you a pedophile protector yourself, by bringing up irrelevant crimes when asked about the Epstein files.
574 burglaries, 184 robberies, 1,489 dangerous drug offenses, 379 weapons offenses, and 234 sexual predator offenses.
But yet you're not. You said that there's no charges that could come from the Epstein files, and if you think it's a problem to let people who committed sex crimes against kids go, guess what? You're doing the same damn thing. Hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite.
That's why they are deflecting. That's why
they're deflecting. Oh, if that isn't the pot calling the kettle black. You guys are the deflectors in chief. Craziness. Absolute craziness. The idea that she could have, with a straight face, say that the Democrats in Congress are the ones who are deflecting. Anyway, let's go ahead and go to the next video.
Attorney General, I wanted to return to a point that the chairman raised at the beginning of this hearing, which is these jurisdictions that refuse to honor detainer requests from Immigration and Customs Enforcement, often called sanctuary jurisdictions.
And again, we just covered why there's no such thing as a sanctuary city. Sanctuary cities or states. Cities and states don't have the authority to act on immigration laws because of the Constitution.
Now, I know that you are not involved directly in immigration operations per se, but you do deal with the legal issues surrounding these jurisdictions. So let's say we have someone who's here illegally, who has committed a crime that, like the thousands of people you mentioned in California, murderers, sexual predators, drug traffickers. If that
as long as they're on the list, it's fine, I guess.
Individual is in detention in a jurisdiction that has a sanctuary policy where they do not honor ICE detainers versus in any other jurisdiction where they do, how does the nature of apprehending that person, how does the nature of ICE's involvement in that operation differ in those two circumstances?
Well, I believe you've seen that in Minnesota, where people were not cooperating with us. I believe there.
So in areas in municipalities, like, is she going to say when people in municipalities that don't, cooperate or cooperate with ICE, if they're not going to do that, then what's their response? They just shoot nurses and other people in the head and the back? Is that the response that ICE does? Is that the policy of this administration?
A lot of local law enforcement did want to cooperate, but we are doing everything in our power to arrest and deport illegal criminal aliens. And
bullshit. You're doing everything you can to terrorize communities of people. You don't care if they're here legally or not. Legality has never been the issue. Fuck you, you asshole.
That is not going to stop under Donald Trump's administration. Why?
Big hook. My guess is that she has her go bag already packed to flee the country as soon as Trump either dies or his term ends and her pardon is issued. Well, I mean, if her pardon is issued, then she wouldn't have to flee, right? Unless they could find her guilty of state charges. But yeah, it would be wise of every single one of them to have their go bags ready to go once these people are removed from office.
Sanctuary cities are so dangerous. What we've seen in Minneapolis. Where do all the criminals go?
Where do all the criminals go? They join ICE.
Gangs, TDA, MS-13. Where are they going to go? They're going to go to a sanctuary jurisdiction because they believe they're protected, and that's not fair to the citizens of.
It's not fair to the citizens that we're going to murder
those cities.
Yeah, and this is a point.
I wonder if Putin would extend them citizenship. Probably not, because Putin won't have a use for them anymore. When Donald Trump and this administration leaves office, Putin has no reason to support him anymore, not whatsoever. So
point that there at least used to be a lot of consensus on the idea that it's better to do a handoff to the immigration authorities in a custodial setting rather than releasing them where they have to be apprehended in the community. This is Alejandro Mayorkas when he was before this committee, not exactly a paragon of border security, but he said, "I do not consider it in the service of public safety to release an individual into the community when that individual can be released to Immigration and Customs Enforcement."
But Immigration and Customs Enforcement, I guess under previous presidents may very well have actually only targeted the people who are here, who are the worst of the worst, who are the bad hombres, as Donald Trump called them. And in such cases, maybe it makes more sense that a local municipality or a state police force would, hand over somebody if there was evidence to show that they were a violent criminal who was also here in violation of our border policies. But in this administration, they lie about who people are and whether or not they're here legally or not. They deport and detain people who are citizens. They detain and or deport people who are working here legally, like the 100-plus cruise ship workers who've been detained and deported who are from the Philippines. You have lots of people who are being treated very unfairly, who have absolutely every right to be here because they did things the right way. They have people who they pulled out of line who are getting naturalized because of the country they were from. So yeah, fuck you, and you're trying to compare the actions of Mayorkas with the actions of this administration because it's day and night, night and day. Thank you, Alyosha, for the bits.
For prompt removal. Now, his words are one thing, his actions are another. But when you have jurisdictions across the country, including my state of California, doing systematically precisely the
Oh, you're going to lose your job because California redistricted? That would be such a damn shame.
thing that even Alejandro Mayorkas said threatens public safety? I mean, what does that say to you?
The threat to public safety now at this point is ICE. And it won't stop until ICE gets disbanded. And I don't even care if we get a Democratic president. That Democratic president needs to disband ICE, needs to get rid of it, it needs to replace it with something else. Hell, we had INS before ICE, and, you know, whatever problems they might have had, I think it would be better to return to something else than what we currently have, because you just need to just eliminate the whole department and just burn it to the ground, because they've proven themselves to be incapable of being able to self-police, let alone police others.
It's a danger to the citizens of your community, and thank you for fighting to protect them.
Absolutely. And, you know, we're having this conversation right now in relation to Homeland Security funding. And I believe there are some common sense reforms that have been proposed that folks on both sides would agree make sense. But those reforms have to go hand in hand with reforming this reckless practice of refusing to cooperate, refusing to honor detainers, and declaring oneself to be a sanctuary.
Well, then go after only the people who are here violently. Go after the people who are here who are committing violent, dangerous crimes against others, and then maybe people might be more willing to cooperate with ICE or with whatever replaces ICE after it gets disbanded. But if you're not going to have ICE operate properly, then why should local municipalities, why should state government, police forces at all cooperate with what these tyrants, what the modern day Gestapo is doing?
So I'm hoping that we can find bipartisan support for what has long been a bipartisan principle. I want to go to a second topic, which is the school.
Bipartisanship is pretty much dead. There might be a few examples, but no. It's the modern-day Republican Party, the MAGA movement, has made it impossible for bipartisanship to exist. The only way to return back to bipartisanship is to, you know, completely destroy MAGA politically, root and stem.
School board memo, which I know that you have rescinded, and it was initially promulgated by Attorney General
promulgated. That's a big word for a Republican.
Garland, when he came.
Atrocious certificate game. Oh my God, I don't even know this dude, but fuck him. He's slow sizzy. I don't want to. Not one bit. Please don't ask me to do that to him. It would be gross.
Oh my.
Into office with President Biden, essentially opening an investigation into parents who are showing up at school board meetings and expressing their views on COVID policies, masks, various other issues, and using the full apparatus of federal law enforcement and counterterrorism to go after these parents. Now, he said this was because there was an increase of threats, but when even his own FBI director, Christopher Wray, was before this committee, he said there was no evidence of an increase in threats. Yet, nevertheless, when I asked him if he regretted the memo, Attorney General Garland said there was absolutely nothing wrong with the memo. Now, I take it you disagree with that, having now rescinded it?
Absolutely. That was one of the main focuses of President Trump and this administration. We will protect
protecting pedophiles,
parents at school boards. We will protect children in schools. We will protect parents' rights for their children's education in our school system in this country.
What?
We will protect Christians. We will protect everyone who wants to.
They're going to protect Christians, not Jews, not Muslims, not anybody else, but they're going to protect Christians. And I guess the memo of the whole going out, it was like they read the memo wrong. It wasn't going after all people who spoke at school board meetings. It was making sure that you could look at the people who are causing actual threats to school board members. That's what they were talking about, you stupid assholes. I mean, Donald Trump did say he loved the poorly educated after the 2016 Nevada primaries, and these people are here showing that not only if you're poorly educated can you be a supporter of Donald Trump, you can get high up into the administration, you can become an elected member of Congress and be supported by these pedophile protecting asshats, you know.
Really protest. If Christians want to protest in front of an abortion clinic without being arrested, they will do so.
Thank you very much. And finally,
protest, one thing, but preventing people from being able to use their constitutionally protected services in states, at least, that still maintain that protection to be able to have abortion rights, that's wrong. And you should not be able to prohibit somebody from doing what they want to do. And you also should not be able to have a captive audience.
I thank you for your efforts to step up the detection and rooting out of fraud. My home state is California. Any idea if there might be any fraud going on in California?
Oh, there's no fraud going on in California whatsoever. They've ended fraud completely. Gavin Newsom should have a post that basically mocks the whole "there are zero people crossing the border" and be like, there's no fraud in California, not one fraud. We've totally eliminated fraud. We're so fraudless, it's like anything you've ever seen. And that's what he should do, and it would be hilarious, you know, if he hasn't already done so.
We are establishing, as you have heard, a fraud unit, and I'm sorry you're having to deal with that in your state, but the cavalry's coming, and we have Colin McDonald, who is hopefully will be.
250 kilo. You're looking at one. Yes, that congressperson is a fraud from California. There you go. Perfect comment.
Firm soon. We're working on Minneapolis. I don't know if you were sitting here when I said that, but California was right up there. I'm sorry to say for both sides of the aisle that California is right up there with fraud. It's out of control, but we are coming to your rescue. Donald Trump is coming to the rescue.
Well, thank you very much.
Help is on the way. All right, Mrs. Doubtfire. Mrs. Doubtliar, I should say.
And unfortunately, I think you'll find that what's happening in California pales in comparison to what's been going on in Minnesota. Thank you. I yield back.
Yeah, okay. Whatevs. All right, let's go ahead and close that one and see what else. That one wasn't as exciting as I thought it would be. Oh, here's Representative Roy, another Republican, or is it Wah, as some might say. The Canadian goalie, I think Roy is pronounced. The last name is pronounced Wah, but this is Roy, I know.
And a little flexibility on the time. I appreciate the chairman. Madam Attorney General, am I correct that under your leadership, the department?
Right, am I correct? The basic safe answer of that question from him and any other Republican congressperson is no. You're not correct. We can just stop watching for now, right? Because that's all you needed to hear. Am I correct? No. Sorry, you're not.
Of Justice has prosecuted cases of non-citizen voting. So it's false, as some of my Democratic colleagues have claimed.
How many? How many cases of non-citizen voting have happened? Infinitesimal is the amount of cases that happen. And when it happens, you know, those people get tried and get convicted. I'm sure there are more people who have voted as Republicans for their dead Republican parents or whatever, who have then citizens not voting or voting when they shouldn't have voted.
That it doesn't happen.
Yes.
I ask that today because we're voting on the Save America Act today to enact.
And of course, the Save America Act goes beyond and above and beyond just simple. Everyone needs an ID. It sets forth things in the law that experts on the law say that it would make harder for people who have changed their names since birth to get their a proper voting ID, and as such make it much more difficult for them to cast a ballot, which is the intent, because most of the people who have changed their names are women, and if less or fewer women vote, it makes it more likely that Republicans win. So that's why they want to do that. That's the secret behind this right there. Again, if you put clean voter ID bills up, you have no problem passing it. Wyoming passed a voter ID law cleanly, passed 60-40, and all it said was you need an ID to vote. And that's all it said. States like Louisiana allow you to have a free voter ID if you can't afford to buy one. Now, of course, you have to jump through whatever hoops you have to do to get the paperwork to get those IDs. So even in states like Louisiana, that free voter ID law, is made more hard when you add onerous requirements, additional requirements on top of it to be able to get that ID, to be able to show that you are who you say you are. So that's what the intention is. The intention is always, the Republicans always want to see fewer people voting, because they believe if you have fewer people voting, they're going to win more often. That's the only way they keep office, is to make it harder for people to cast ballots. And again, even though I've said I have no problem with the requirements specifically to show an ID to cast a ballot, and I do believe that we should be giving everybody free IDs to be able to make that happen, even though I've said that, the problem with these so-called voter ID laws, the problem with these other laws that they try to pass under the guise of election integrity, is not with the simple requirement to show an ID to vote, but the problem is with the other things that are included in the legislation that are specifically meant to make it harder for people to cast a ballot, to make it more difficult for people who are citizens to cast ballots in this country. You'll have some idiots, some morons who will come afterwards and say, what's wrong with showing an ID to vote? Or there are many reasons you need an ID. You need an ID to use your food stamp, you need an ID to use this, you need an ID to do that. I'm not complaining about the ID, you fucking morons. I'm complaining about the other provisions in the law, but y'all don't even pay attention to that, because when you hear voter ID, you go la 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 to the rest of it and just regurgitate the stuff that has been force-fed to you by Fox News, by Real America's Voice, by OIN, by Jeff Guerrero, by any of the other Republican idiots who are out there who are trying to spread this bullshit propaganda that election fraud is, rampant across this nation and will be solved by having enough voter ID laws, because it won't. Because the benefit of casting a ballot, the reward of being able to cast one extra ballot, the odds are that one extra ballot is going to change the results of the election is not good enough for most people who look at the punishment for casting an illegal ballot and say, oh, that's too risky for me. I'm not going to take advantage. I'm not going to do that because it's way too risky. So, these people don't give... But again, this is never about legality. This is about everything else.
Common sense policies to ensure only American...
Common sense policies, yeah, whatever.
American citizens vote in American elections and enact federal voter ID laws. But
again, if it was just about voter ID, you would offer a legislation that said simply, we will provide every person in America 18 years of older who is a citizen of these United States an ID that they could use at the polls, and they will be granted that ID, and they could use that ID in any time they go to vote, and it'll be available for them for free, no cost whatsoever. Here you go. And then, I don't think you'd have anybody complaining about that. And if they did, I would probably be critical of them for it. But that's not what y'all want. Y'all don't want to make it easier for people who are citizens to vote while protecting the vote in and of itself. You want to make it so that it's harder for people to actually cast their ballot under the guise of election security, election integrity, etc. Because all y'all do is lie. Let's continue.
it's true, for example, that in just this month, a federal grand jury in Newark indicted 2 men with illegally voting in federal election and making false statements. Mohammed Mazam.
Illegally voting, but was it illegally voting because they were non-citizens, or is it some other purpose? Because there are other people who have illegally voted who are citizens who just lost their right to vote and thought that, their rights to vote were automatically returned to them once they were released from prison. So, I mean, could very well be that they were non-citizens, but again, the number of people who do it is insignificant compared to all the other election crimes that are out there. You can go to the Heritage Foundation website that actually has a bunch of data about illegal voting, election fraud, election crimes, etc., and you will see that very few of the instances of the election fraud that are listed on that site are actually solved with a voter ID or with people who didn't use one who should have or whatever. So, hey, Teresa, good to see you.
And Mohammed Shakil were non-citizens at the time they registered to vote. It happens regularly, and you're prosecuting those crimes, correct?
Yes.
But does that prosecution of those criminals overturn their previously cast votes?
That's all pending.
But it does not overturn votes that they've cast, right? So passing the State of America Act would help deal with that problem.
Yeah.
Yes, let's pass a whole sweeping-ass law for 5 people.
Yes, Congressman.
Second question. As Attorney General, you're in charge of the Executive Office of Immigration Review, correct?
Yes, Congressman.
The Biden-Mayorkas regime caused the immigration court case backlog to explode, correct?
Explode.
Is that
and that same administration tried to pass legislation that would enable. I mean, I don't agree. I don't actually believe them when they say it's the Biden's fault that we had this explosion of people. There were people who Biden, let into this country under, humanitarian parole. Like 500,000 of them were revoked, no fault of their own, but because Trump and his administration are full of a bunch of racists. But again, I reject, the premise that it was all Biden's fault that this is going on or whatever. But again, you had a Republican senator from Oklahoma who was part of the drafting process of a bill that would have expanded the federal courts to enable the processing of these people to have their asylum hearings adjudicated so you can determine whether or not they had a right to declare asylum or not. And if they couldn't, you would send them back to the line or whatever, send them back across the border because they didn't qualify for asylum, etc., etc., etc. And who stopped that from happening? It was Donald Trump. It was Speaker Johnson. It was the Republicans in the House who refused to sign on to that legislation to make it. So they made the problem worse by not allowing the administration to have the funding available to hire more judges and adjudicate these cases and to get them through more quickly. And because to them it was more important to have a problem that they wanted to claim to fix during the election than in actually fixing the problem at that time, of not having enough, judges to be able to adjudicate those cases. So fuck you, Congressperson Roy, because you are misleading the public and you are, obviously throwing up a lying softball so that she could lie right back to you.
Sound about right that in September of 2020, 4 months before President Biden took office, there was a backlog of 1.5 million cases, but by the time...
And it would have been solved, or at least would have been on the way to being solved, had y'all, actually passed the legislation.
Time President Biden left office, the backlog reached nearly 4.2 million cases.
It sounds about right, but I don't have the exact numbers.
In that entire binder, you don't have all the numbers. He didn't give you his questions ahead of time so that you could then answer them and have the answers. That's kind of uncoordinated of you. Wouldn't you, if you were going to ask these questions to the Attorney General? Actually, I'm frankly surprised that the administration didn't give the Republicans a list of front-loaded questions to say, here's the question you're going to ask Pam Bondi so that she can give you the answer that you're looking for. So I'm frankly shocked, kind of, that they wouldn't have that set up. Of course, it is the Donald Trump administration, and there are a bunch of idiots, and I don't understand how they even could manage to win an election, except for the fact that stupid people in large numbers can get a lot of things accomplished, apparently. But the idea that they haven't actually had this all planned ahead of time to be able to, here's your question, here's the answer, here's your question, here's the answer, here's your question, here's the answer, for at least the Republican side of the aisle, I'm actually frankly shocked they didn't do that, and hopefully they're not listening to the show because I don't want to give them any ideas.
Be accurate to say that most individuals who file for asylum have a meritless or fraudulent claim?
Most. I don't have...
You won't know that until you actually go through the process. And if they have a meritless claim, I'm not going to say it's fraudulent, but if they have a meritless claim, you deal with it then. And you would have had more judges to deal with any such meritless claims had you signed the legislation, or you passed the legislation in the House that was passed in the Senate that Biden could have then signed, and which would have created more judges to be able to deal with the backlog of asylum cases. But you wouldn't, because it was more important for you for Donald Trump to win the election than to actually create more judges and adjudicate the cases more quickly. But hey, what do I know?
The numbers.
Oh, so does it sound correct that of the asylum cases adjudicated in FY 2023 under the Biden regime, that only 14% resulted in an asylum grant and only 12% in fiscal year 2024? Does that sound correct?
It sounds correct. I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers.
Again, yeah, Church of David Game says they're too incompetent to do that. Yeah, they are, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised at it, but you'd think somebody up there would have kind of figured it out, but I guess I'm giving a random somebody too much credit, simply because of the fact that, while Donald Trump's an idiot, he's still a good fraudster. You'd think it would cross his mind, let's give them the questions that Bondi will answer so that we can have her all set up to look like a genius when she's not. But again, maybe they needed to pose it to him as a con instead of just as a simple political thing.
Could you get that information to us to verify that data?
I'll get all that information to you.
Under the Trump
I'll give you everything you need.
administration, immigration judges complete an average of 65,000 cases per month, the highest average completion rate in at least a decade. Does that sound correct?
That sounds correct.
Ms. Bondi, how many new cases under EOIR received in fiscal year 2025 have you all had? And of those, what percentage have been granted asylum? Do you know?
I can try to get you those numbers.
And how many of them are white and how many of them are not white? Because, the Trump administration is more than happy to bring white South Africans here, but anybody else, they say F you. Even people who are not asylum cases, people who are trying to get here the correct way, as they always say, come here correctly and you'll get to do you'll get to be citizens. Nope, sorry, they pulled them out of line for no good reason other than the fact that they are foreigners.
I thought I had those.
That'd be great, because my question is whether President Trump's decision to pause asylum in the wake of the shooting of a National Guardsman by an Afghani here in Washington, D.C. and the nation.
Somebody who was actually granted asylum because of their ineptitude, somebody who probably shouldn't have been granted asylum, but, they dropped the ball on that one. It's their fault. It happened on Trump's watch, even though Garden Gnome said it was Biden's fault. No, it was y'all's fault. Y'all the ones who ruled on the asylum. So,
Capitol helped to stop the backlog in your office. Does that sound correct?
Yes, Congressman.
My point being that the leadership of this administration is ending the backlog, reducing the backlog.
The only reason they're doing that is because they're not processing asylum claims properly. It was said, some point on in this hearing, and it might be in one of the clips that we're going to hear, is simply that, this administration is failing to follow the law on asylum claims. And so it's easy to get rid of the bylaws if you or the backlog. It's easy to get rid of the backlog if you don't follow the law. But, you know, according to Pam Bondi,
no one is above the law in this country.
Except for people in the Trump administration who are free to not follow the law as they see fit.
Making sure that we don't have fraudulent asylum claims clogging it and keeping Americans safe. Is that correct?
How do you know it's fraudulent unless you adjudicate the case?
Correct?
Yes, Congressman.
So a couple other quick questions on another important topic that has been raised by colleagues on both sides of the aisle with respect to the Epstein case. A few questions. One, Jeffrey Epstein was charged in July 2019 for sex trafficking under the Trump administration in his first term. Is that correct?
Yes, Congressman.
And that...
Yes, Congressman. And of course, he didn't keep him safe and allowed him to die in federal custody, unless you believe conspiracy theorists who believes he's really not dead. But, you know, hey, because there's that whole misdating of the document thing that some people are taking as proof that it was, you know, actually a cover-up and that Epstein might still be alive. Is it possible? Sure. Is it plausible? I don't know. You'd think that the inept administration would be able to not be able to keep that a secret this long.
Ghislaine Maxwell was charged in 2020, also under the Trump administration, correct?
Yes, Congressman.
So
but convicted under Biden.
It's safe to say that the administration...
The Ponder Monkey says he is alive and in Israel. Again, unless you show me evidence of that, I'm not going to believe it.
Led on that issue and that there was silence in the previous administration. Is that correct?
They convicted Ghislaine Maxwell.
Correct?
Yes, Congressman. Almost complete silence from everyone who's been trying to still talk about Epstein. They didn't say a word under the Biden administration.
They were prosecuting Ghislaine Maxwell, and as such, many of the files wouldn't have been able to be used because they were prosecuting Ghislaine Maxwell. This doesn't excuse Merrick Garland and his ineptitude for various other things that he's done or that he did during the Biden administration, but still, and again, it doesn't... Biden is not in that whole number because Biden, unlike Trump, took a more hands-off approach to the Department of Justice and said this is your responsibility. And that's typically has been the tradition that presidents do not interfere with the actions of the Department of Justice, that it should be treated as an independent organization even though the head of the department is politically appointed. Trump doesn't feel that way. Trump feels like he wants a hand-on approach. He feels that the Attorney General is his personal attorney. And had Biden said that it was his personal attorney...
Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, the screen fell play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
Can someone ask Chip and Pam if they want to get a room? What the hell is this questioning? I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe they already have a room together.
Oh my.
Maybe that's why she's smiling at that for once in her goddamn life.
Oh my.
Anyway, let's continue.
Nothing.
And I want to make one other point and then another question, though, that is important. I want to make one observation, and that is that we've heard the information today, which is troubling, that Jane Doe's, that victims' information was made public and was unredacted in the files that were released on Friday.
And who was the Attorney General when that happened?
No one is above the law in this country.
And who is the one that violated that law?
No one is above the law in this country.
And who is it that said that there's no evidence of Trump doing anything wrong except for the fact that there is?
No one is above the law in this country.
You know, that's Pam Bondi.
So my question is, some of us had argued when we were dealing with the discharge petition in Congress that when Congress inserted itself into the process, that we needed to be very careful to ensure that we were protecting victims.
And Congress passed a law in a way that said that you needed to protect the victims, and it was the responsibility of the FBI and the Department of Justice to redact the victims' names out of there while not redacting other people.
So a question that is both, I just want to make that clear that some of us were fighting for that here, and we didn't get a chance to amend it or change it. So that was concerning. But a question a little more pointed, I have to say, is why, though, were the victims' names released that shouldn't have been? That there were
Exactly, Church State of England. I mean, it was in the law. You know, he might have said, he might not have been in the law worded the exact right way that he wanted it worded, but it was in the law.
Were names in the files that these Jane Does, that their names shouldn't have been made public when there were some accusers whose names were redacted. That's question one. And question...
The Ponder Monkey on Twitch says, Trump is the real victim. Yeah, okay, dude.
Two was that Ghislaine Maxwell was put in jail for trafficking minors. Rightly so, and you properly said here at this table, you hope she dies in jail.
But except they moved her to a club fed type position and, gave her a nice cushy thing, and they could have required her to actually say what was going on, but they did not, because she's, I want to be pardoned, I want to have my sentence commuted. Yeah, no.
I want to know, will anyone besides her or Epstein, which I congratulate President Trump's previous administration and this Department of Justice for continuing all of that, but that they were indicted, but will anyone else be indicted and prosecuted under this, given the information that's in front of us? So 2 questions.
Thank you for letting me answer that. They didn't want to hear my answer on the other side. Yes, given the tight time frame of 30 days, I believe we got everything released within a little over 60 days. I'm talking as fast as I can. My time is up. We did the best we could immediately.
Again, they're not cutting her off to answer the question during the, Republicans' time. Again, it's hypocrisy. It's a double standard. As Ponder Monkey says, double standard is the American way, especially the Republican way, right?
If everyone's been coming to view the documents, if someone's name should not have been redacted, we're releasing it. If someone's name was redacted, we said right away was not redacted and should have been, meaning a victim.
What? Or did you have a couple of drinks with Jeanine Pirro before this meeting?
We went back and redacted it.
Alyosha, I should have mentioned Biden's song.
We're doing everything we can based on the top.
Yeah, exactly, Trust is every game. And they were on your desk. She said that the list was on the desk and then it disappeared and it never released it. And it took an act of Congress to get it to release it. So again, Donald Trump has done more for the victims of Epstein. You probably mean Donald Trump has done more to the victims of Epstein, but still.
Tight time frame and over 3 million pages that we released that Donald Trump signed for pure transparency.
Donald Trump signed? Why would Donald Trump sign a list? What? Doesn't make any sense.
Second, what was your second question?
About whether another individual will be indicted.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for asking that. And they never wanted to hear the answer to that. We have pending investigations in our office.
Time the gentleman has.
We have pending investigations in our office. Okay. Well, how long will those pending investigations be pending, and how long will it take them to actually, get the ball rolling, if you will, on these pedophiles? Because the longer you take to, actually come down. I mean, look, I don't think justice should be rushed. I think that, people should take their time to, dot all of their I's and cross all of their T's. That being said, this administration probably needs a little extra time because they have to do all of that in crayon. But still, I don't believe that they're going after anybody. I don't believe that anybody is, under threat right now, especially the people who are the main victims. And wasn't it? It's been going around where Bondi supposedly said that if we released everything and we went after everybody, that the entire system of the world would collapse. Good. Let it collapse. If the system of the world needs this to be a secret, then let's reboot the system, fuck everybody, and then start over from scratch. Because, I have no reason, there's no reason to protect the system if it's run by a cabal of pedophiles. And that's the crazy thing, is that you had all of these Pizzagate folks who were trying to argue and say that there was a cabal of pedophiles that were running the world, and, they of course turned it into a ridiculous argument so nobody would actually believe them. Although we already knew about some pedophilic cabals that were powerful in the world, aka the Catholic Church and the protection they did to their pedophiles. That being said, there are apparently other pedophiles that were running around as a cabal, and they all need to go and get buried under the prison too. So, here we go. Here's the next one.
I want to start by saying I appreciate what you said, Attorney General Bondi, and you said it to me personally, that you take the personal security of every member of Congress seriously, and that people can contact you about that. And in these times, that's a very serious matter. So I thank you for that.
Victor Harshman, Pam's words, the Veruca Salt of politics.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Yes, thank you. Very good reference there.
2, Section 1, Clause 7 of the Constitution is the Domestic Emoluments Clause. And it says that the president is limited to his salary in office and cannot receive any other money from the federal government while he's in office.
Which apparently, he ignores that because, you know, when he directs the people in the administration to stay at his resorts, like Bedminster and Mar-a-Lago and the one in Scotland or whatever, that's money that goes into his pockets, that money that goes into his coffers or the coffers of the corporations he runs. But, you know.
No one is above the law in this country.
Yeah, no one is above the law except for Trump. And I guess if Donald Trump doesn't see the money going into his coffers, does that mean the money isn't going into his coffers?
If Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. Object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist.
It cannot be increased by $1. This president is the first president in U.S. history who has repeatedly sued the federal government, for $230 million for the judicial search warrant at Mar-a-Lago, which was perfectly lawful and was never struck down. But now he's suing the IRS for $10 billion. He's suing the IRS for $10 billion, which I think is around 80% of its annual budget, because his tax returns were leaked. And they were illegally leaked by a private contractor who actually is in prison now, Charles Littlejohn. But he wants $10 billion. Now,
sorry.
But I want to ask you the question of whether you think it would violate the Domestic Emoluments Clause for you to settle that $10 billion case or any of the other claims that the president has made against the government. He himself has remarked, it's interesting because I'm the one that makes the deal, right? And he says, I kind of have to work it out with myself. Do you?
Ponder Monkey goes, he will settle with himself for $15 billion right now. Yeah. My argument has been, he'll be like, I'll just settle for $2. I'll take $2 billion, so it won't be the full $10 billion. I'll save the government $8 billion if they just give me the $2 billion right now. That's probably going to be his argument, or the argument. And then Pam Bondi would come afterwards, be like, you know, we were potentially going to lose $10 billion, so we're saving the government $8 billion by giving him the $2 that he's asking for.
I think it would violate the Domestic Emoluments Clause for the president to work out a deal from people who are his subordinates under his unitary executive theory to get money in one of these cases.
I'm not going to discuss pending litigation.
Of course she's not, because their answer would be, most likely, no, I don't believe it would be a violation of the Emoluments Clause, and boom, there you go. And, you know, if he had an actual, like let's say he was hit by let's say his foot was run over by Air Force One or whatever. He was on the tarmac, it rolled a little bit, it ran over his foot, I don't know, whatever. And let's say he needed to sue the government for whatever reasons. You know, that would be considered a recuperation of loss, and as such it wouldn't be income, and as such it's not profit, so therefore it wouldn't be an emolument, and that would be the argument they would make. Of course, there's no loss here. There was no harm and damage of reputation, or to his reputation. I would argue because his reputation was already in the shitter at that point, so you can't get lower than 0 when it comes to your reputation. But B, he got reelected to the office of the presidency because we're a bunch of stupid morons in this country who apparently didn't remember the 4 years under him previously. So if you got a reelected president, there's no argument to be made that you had any substantial harm to you done by the actions done by that private contractor, and as such there's no basis to sue, and as such it would be, I would say it would be considered profit, but it also wouldn't be something that you would settle. You would have to force it, but then who defends it? It doesn't make any sense. It shouldn't happen, and you know, it at least violates the spirit of the Emoluments Clause if it doesn't violate the letter of the Emoluments Clause.
Okay, so theoretically you're saying because his privacy rights were violated in that tax case, and they were. I'm with the president on that. I mean, his Mar-a-Lago thing is ridiculous, but there's no doubt that his tax returns, despite the fact that he promised to release them, despite the fact that every other president released the tax returns, he suffered embarrassment when it showed that he hadn't paid taxes for several years, and he had.
But it didn't harm him. He can't show harm, even though it shouldn't have happened to him. It didn't harm him.
Right for that not to happen.
You don't have the right to not be embarrassed. If you know, is he going to sue the chair that he sharted in as well because that embarrassed him too?
Now, I want to turn back to the Epstein survivors.
If I could turn back time.
President Trump may have been a little bit embarrassed by the release of those tax returns. How much do you think the claims of these survivors are worth? As the good congressman from Kentucky just pointed out, there were lots of survivors who had decided, for reasons of their own, never to release their names. That determination was represented to people in Congress, and we built it into our federal law.
It built it into law, you know, as opposed to what Roy said, it was built into the law.
That their names could not be released, and yet you published their names, their phone numbers, their addresses, personally identifying information. If Donald Trump can get $10 billion, theoretically, from the Department of Justice, how much should these people get for a far worse violation of their privacy rights and a far greater danger established to them in their lives?
Do you even know who Chase Mulligan is?
What does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Like, what? What the fuck?
You're so obsessed with you. Don't, do you?
I'm going to teach you the rules again. You're the Attorney General of the United States. We have rules here.
You're obsessed with him.
You're the Attorney General of the United States.
You're obsessed with him. You're obsessed with the guy that I love. I love him. You're obsessed with him. You're hurting his feelings, and it makes me cry because I love him so much.
Obsessed with Donald Trump. You have Trump derangement syndrome.
Trump derangement syndrome. This Trump, the only derangement is still supporting this ass hat.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like my time restored. I'd like my time restored.
In your district. In your district, and you don't even know about it, about keeping children safe from online predators.
Time belongs to the gentleman from Maryland. Gentleman can proceed.
Yeah, and I want the whole country to look at this, because this is the Attorney General of the United States.
A South Park cartoon, yeah, exactly. Especially with, there should be more brown showing up on her face if this is South Park, but you know, maybe he lost all the brown in his pants when he ruined his underwear, according to my song, which hopefully will be up tomorrow at some point.
Whose job is law enforcement. We've never had a witness who has misunderstood our rules and been unable to conform his or her conduct to our rules.
I don't think it's a matter of her misunderstanding the rules. I think she just doesn't give a shit, because even though, you know, she's under, you know, there are rules, whatever, and there are laws and whatever.
No one is above the law in this country.
Except for people in this administration and the people who they pardon.
Before. We have only 5 minutes. And so...
Ponder Monkey. TDS is ruining America. Trump dick sucking.
Oh my.
Yeah, very well played. Thank you, Ponder Monkey.
We use our time to ask you specific questions.
How long are you giving me to
Excuse me, I'm not yielding to you right now. I'd like that second restored too. So, Ms. Bondi, the way it works is we ask you a question and you answer it. And if you go off on a wild goose chase, another tangent, you start reading statistics, or you start talking about stuff going on in our district. And by the way, I invite you to my district. Come to my district, but that's not what we're here to do today, okay? So, and you...
He said do. He said doo-doo.
You do that, then we're allowed to say we reclaim our time. At that point, you have to be quiet. You have no choice. You have to be quiet. So...
I don't know how to be quiet. It's against my nature.
I hope you understand the rule of this part. Now, here's what I want to ask you. You're in law enforcement. We've seen all kinds of evidence of crimes. And when we go over to the Department of Justice for the 4 computers for every member of Congress, we see more evidence of crimes. Will you create a joint task force of the Department of Justice and governors and state attorney generals and district attorneys across the country to investigate the crimes that have taken place against these victims and more than 1,000 like them? The DOJ is not doing its job. Will you create a task force with state and local law enforcement to make that happen?
Dodge.
Gentlelady can respond if she wants to.
Thank you, Chairman. He called Chase Mulligan a wild goose chase and didn't even know who he was. He is a defendant in your own district who preyed on girls.
Mr. Chairman.
Again, dodge.
Well, you know what? If he were part of the Epstein investigation, you wouldn't do anything about it.
Well said, Congressperson Raskin.
Rooms and committed sextortion. Yet he didn't even know in your tiny little district who he was.
Mr. Chairman, she's embarrassing you.
He's about to be
This is your committee, and she is embarrassing you.
on you.
The time of the gentleman has expired. I would remind the committee that last Congress, Secretary Mayorkas was here numerous times, and he wouldn't answer our questions, even when we sent them to him ahead of.
So, because Mayorkas didn't, you don't agree with Mayorkas doing it, so it's okay now for Bondi to have done it. This is tangential, but still relative to.
Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, that screen fell play, but Trump did it, so it must be okay.
And yes, I'm originally from Maryland, so it's, even though I haven't been there, haven't lived there, haven't been a voter there for a very long time, still, you know, it's good to see somebody from my old stomping grounds representing the good old state of Maryland. Anyway, the Biden song, classic. Let's go on to Representative Hageman. See what...
Attorney General Bondi, I want to express my gratitude to the President, you and your team for your continued efforts against extreme anti-energy policies taken by states and cities that serve only to increase costs on the American people.
Anti-energy policies, oh no. Thank you for taking such a stand against, for big coal and big oil, but not for, but not against big pedophilia.
This is an issue of great concern for Congress as well as the consumers. At the behest of networks of non-governmental organizations and anti-growth activists, Democratic-controlled states and cities are enacting laws and pursuing
what the hell is an anti-growth activist? What the fuck?
Coordinated lawsuits that would impose retroactive liability on energy producers for past global emissions based on speculative future climate change harms.
Oh no, who will think about big oil? Who will think of the billionaires who run the energy companies? Who will think of their rights? Forget the rights of the people who, are poisoned by in Cancer Alley. Forget the rights of the people who, died because of the Deepwater Horizon oil disaster. Forget the rights of the people who lost, who had health issues because of the same thing, or other energy issues that go on because big oil and big energy can't be trusted to actually, regulate themselves. Forget all, who's going to think about those people who run those companies? Boo-hoo.
The proponents of these plans
I can't be alone thinking that Hageman looks like George Santos. Well, you were until you said it, and now I see it, and I see you, and I agree with you.
call them climate superfund laws, but in reality, that is simply window dressing for taxes and fees imposed on consumers and businesses that don't even have a presence in these states or communities. But if you look at the billions of dollars...
But if they're causing harm in those communities for whatever reasons, then maybe they should suffer the consequences of that, and maybe they should, have to deal with those consequences because, as Bondi likes to say...
No one is above the law in this country.
I guess unless you're a rich corporation, then of course the Republicans are going to have your back or give you theirs.
They hope to gain from these efforts. The real goal here is to increase their already mismanaged state budgets by imposing fees on consumers and businesses in energy-producing states such as the state of Wyoming.
Just because you're an energy producer, there's a local radio host down here who's, I think, more northern Louisiana, or at least more north of New Orleans, Moon Griffon, who will talk about, all these trial lawyers going after all of the people who are, we're an energy state, so we need to protect energy, and who doesn't want to see any lawsuits against energy companies because of all the wonderful things that all the money energy brings into Louisiana. All the money in the world doesn't bring back the lives of people who big energy has killed. So, no, we should continue to sue them if they act illegally. If they violate the laws, they should be sued. They should lose money. And because energy costs are typically regulated, they should not be allowed to recoup those losses via price hikes to consumers. They should be told it has to come out of your profits instead. Right?
Would describe this as the tobacco litigation on steroids. Vermont has enacted such a law, and another has recently gone into effect in New York. Similar laws are under consideration in a number of other states. Clearly, this problem is spreading. Would you agree that...
Ponder Monkey, nationalized petroleum. Well, that's what Trump's trying to do, at least with Venezuela's petroleum. Apparently, they shipped some of the petroleum that they got from Venezuela and shipped it off and sold it to Israel, which is bizarre. But, there should be plenty of oil somewhere over in the Middle East where they shouldn't have to get oil from Venezuela unless they're giving it to him at such a deal. Oh, he's such a deal. I could have gotten you the gas wholesale. Again, I'm Jewish. You know, whatever. I can make that joke, right? Anyway, let's continue.
Congress has not authorized states to impose retroactive liability against energy producers and lawful carbon emissions?
Yes.
And would you also agree that protecting consumers is a core part of the DOJ's mission?
Protecting consumers, sure. But again, oil companies tend to be, or energy companies tend to be regulated, and you should be regulating the cost, and there should be more regulations put on the energy companies so that if they violate the law, and if they have to pay fines and fees for the actions that they do to recuperate and compensate people for people who have been harmed by the policies of these energy companies, that the money should have to come out of the profits of the companies and not be offset by price hikes against the consumers. And if you had a Department of Energy, if you had a Department of Justice, if you had an administration as a whole that actually gave a rat's ass about the consumers instead of protecting big business, they would do just that. But you're not going to see that because that's not who the Republican Party cares about. The Republican Party could give two shits about the people who are, you know, actually consumers. If the Republican Party, if the MAGA Party, if Donald Trump and his administration cared about consumers, he wouldn't be, you know, laying tariffs all over the place, levying tariffs all over the place.
Absolutely. Would you further agree that combating state policies that seek to hide and shift the true cost of programs like these onto consumers fits within your mission?
Yes.
So, Attorney General Bondi, fossil fuels are the foundation of the U.S. economy, and the recent...
Well, maybe that should change. But, you know, just because we've done something a certain way doesn't mean we should continue to do things a certain way, and we shouldn't be poisoning our communities with toxic oil and gas and not requiring them to, you know, make sure that they take the actions that are least likely to harm other people. And of course, you have this administration who will... you know, have an issue with other alternative forms of energy because the president hates windmills.
A modern Don Quixote, he hates the windmills, claiming to protect the birds and whales he says they kill. But don't believe that story, it's really just a shill. He just did not want to see them wild golfing on Scottish hills.
Let's continue.
Winter storms underscored that gas, coal, and oil remain essential to grid reliability.
Grid reliability. Wasn't there a state? I mean, it wasn't Wyoming. It wasn't your state. But wasn't there a state out there, a giant red state, that had problems with grid reliability that had nothing to do with federal regulations and actions on that? It had everything to do with the fact that they did not want to even connect to the federal grid and wanted to do things themselves. So then they had brownouts all across Texas during that freeze, and then Ted Cruz went off to Cancun or wherever he went to instead of actually going back to his communities to help them out during a time of, you know, energy crisis, because Texas's energy problems became problematic. Their policies became problematic. It wasn't a blue state that had those issues during the middle of a cold snap, or a freeze. It was a red state that had that issue. So you can miss me with all of that stuff, Congresswoman.
And heating our homes. Can you confirm that the DOJ is fully committed to using all available legal tools to stop these state and local level attacks on domestic energy production?
Who will think of the energy producers?
Congresswoman, we are committed to that, and so is the entire administration. We talk about that a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The President's April 2025 executive order directed the DOJ to identify and act against state laws that burden U.S. energy production. What concrete actions has the DOJ and the administration more broadly taken?
Okay, I really don't want to hear about energy issues anymore, simply because of the fact that, you know, we're more worried about the Epstein crap. But again, all this is going to be an ass-kissing or worse conversation. So let's go ahead and move to one of the better people in Congress right now, Jasmine Crockett, because again, I heard some of this, but I didn't hear the whole thing, but I heard bits and pieces of it, and you know, gotta love it when she gets the mic because she's more intelligent than all of her Republican colleagues combined. They just don't like her because she's darker skinned and she doesn't code switch for them.
A gentlelady from Texas is recognized.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. And to be clear, I'm not going to ask any questions of this witness because this witness has revealed that she has no intentions of answering questions. But instead, I'm going to ask some very basic questions really quickly of my colleague, Becca Ballant, if she will answer right or wrong, raping children.
Wrong.
Right or wrong, killing random citizens.
Definitely wrong.
Right or wrong, enriching yourself as the sitting president of the United States.
Definitely wrong.
Okay, thank you, because I probably never would have got that with our witness. Our witness who somehow is a lawyer but does not understand how it works with witnesses. I'm not really sure what law school she went to and what all kind of cases she tried, but typically when you come...
Well, she tried several things, like, you know, one of them relating to Epstein, right, in Florida?
Into a space and somebody's a witness, then they sit there and they answer questions instead of asking questions. And then we also have this objection that we use as lawyers called non-responsive when a witness fails to actually answer the question. But nevertheless, let me address the survivors because that's exactly who they are. They are not victims, they are survivors. Let me say thank you for having more courage and moral clarity in your pinky fingers than the entire Department of Justice. We are currently the laughing stock of the world, partially because of the failed leadership within the DOJ as we see kings and queens falling everywhere around the world. But we don't know the basics of right and wrong in this country because it's not about partisanship. And that's why I applaud Thomas Massey, because he's the only person on the Republican side that has a backbone and knows how to stand up to corruption. But nevertheless, let me keep going.
What's sad is that she probably could have included all MTG 6B on that list, at least when it comes to the Epstein list, but she gone, so she no longer a congressperson.
My Democratic colleagues have been attacked this entire committee hearing. They have been lied on, and frankly, the American people weren't looking for that. They were looking for answers about the corruption that they see coming from this administration. In the written testimony of this witness, of this particular witness, she stated that when she took office, she had two main goals. The first was to end the weaponization of justice, and second, to return the department to its core mission, not only...
Well, probably the end of the weaponization of the Department of Justice against Trump and Republicans. She fully had no intention of ending the weaponization against people who Trump views as enemies.
Have you lied about both? You've intentionally done the exact opposite. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting journalists than you are prosecuting pedophiles and creeps. In fact, your boss, the President of the United States, stated that this administration, quote, took the freedom of speech away. And at your direction, DOJ has arrested Don Lemon and Georgia Fort. And I might add that y'all...
See, I was listening to some of this. I was not watching this. That's great. Oh, I love it. That's great. That picture right there. Amazing.
Actually had a judge that rejected y'all for trying to arrest Don Lemon before, just like the grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Kelly, just like a grand jury rejected y'all as it relates to Senator Slotkin, just like the case against Tish James was dismissed and the case against Mr. Comey was dismissed. I completely don't get how it is that you're sitting at the top of DOJ because you don't seem to be good at your job. You're spending more taxpayer resources arresting these journalists. In fact, we know after Georgia Fort and Don Lemon were arrested, we know that there were homes of journalists that were raided. We know that threatened prosecution against students protesting your actions and forced tech companies to remove apps used to track ISIS activities. But let's circle back to you protecting pedophiles and creeps, because I want to talk about the president and his possible involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I don't know what the president might have done with Jeffrey Epstein, but unlike this administration, I believe that facts matter, so let's talk about the facts. Fact number one, Donald Trump is one of the most named people in the Epstein files. At least 5,000 files contains more than 38,000 references to Trump, his wife, or Mar-a-Lago. Fact number two, Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell made young...
I love this. What did the shirts say? Truth is blank, blank, blank. Release the blank files. Nice.
girls available to Trump on multiple occasions. For example, according to this file, Ghislaine Maxwell presented a young girl to President Trump who spent more than 20 minutes apparently flirting with her. Here's another example. This shows notes from FBI investigators that describe Jeffrey Epstein transporting a victim to Mar-a-Lago to meet with President Trump, where he bragged to Trump that, quote, "This is a good one." Now, I'm not saying that the president is a pedophile, but there is a lot of evidence in these files that suggests that he's very close friends with a lot of men who are pedophiles. What's crazy about all of this is just that this is a big cover-up. And this administration is engaged in it. In fact, this administration is complicit. But there are numerous others, like...
I mean, what else can I say? I really have not much to add here, except just re-airing her words is important. So there you go.
How the DOJ is attempting to obstruct justice in the investigation of the rogue agents who have murdered American citizens, or how the DOJ seized voter data from Fulton County in an attempt to steal the 2026 midterm elections, or how federal agents have Tom Homan on tape accepting a bribe and your agency killed the investigation, or how your agency is ready to give the president a $230 million payday, which is unconstitutional. The Constitution is clear. The president shall not receive any payment except his salary while in office. The fact of the matter is that you will be remembered as one of the worst attorney generals in history. An attorney general who has prioritized obstruction over justice, corruption over the law, fealty to the president over loyalty to the Constitution. And Mr. Chairman, I will yield.
Gentlelady yields. Gentleman from Missouri is recognized. Excuse me.
Mic drop. I mean, this is why the Republicans are afraid of Jasmine Crockett, because she is that good. I would love to say that she's future President Crockett one day, because that would be great for this country to have President Crockett as our president. That would be lovely. Anyway, was there more to that?
Convicted.
Oh, hold on. Did she want to? Was she allowed to respond or whatever? Let's bring it back to see what old Blondie has to say, right? Let's see.
Mr. Schmidt is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and General Bondi, thanks for being here. Did you have anything you wanted to say before we talk?
I do. Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, my friend, for many years. I find it interesting that she didn't even want to try, Congresswoman Crockett, to ask any questions.
Did you forget her name? Did she own you that bad that your memory just went pew?
Because she certainly did not condemn her leader, Hakeem Jeffries, for taking money from Jeffrey Epstein after Epstein was convicted. And I will be brief to give you your time, Congressman. This is what she didn't want to talk about. Texas, from Cuba, convicted, homicide, arson, weapon offense.
Convicted. So what we talking about? Convict some of these perpetrators that rape these women that are sitting behind you, that you refuse to even acknowledge they are here.
Time belongs to the gentleman from Kansas.
Mr. Chairman, could I have a few seconds back to make up for the yelling? Thank you. General, did you have...
Give me my seconds back for the yelling. Although you didn't complain when they were doing it and she was speaking over the Democrats, right? You know, because, again, hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite.
Anything further to say?
Support journalism you trust. Support
journalism you trust. Support Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left. That's right. But yeah, of course, she has to deflect and dodge because she can't do anything. Ronnie Paul 1 over on Twitch says Jasmine attended Texas Southern Law School, which ranks 178 out of 195 law schools. She's an idiot. Well, just because she might have attended a law school that, you know, might not have been the highest rank doesn't mean she's an idiot. It just means that that's the law school that she went to. She could have been a very intelligent person, and she clearly is a very intelligent person. I would gather she's much more intelligent than Pam Bondi. Jacob says, thoughts on Hitler? What? I'm Jewish. Hitler was a scumbag. He was a murderer, and, you know, I don't know why you feel like the need to ask that question. Especially when we're not talking about, actually I did talk about Nazis a little bit because I called this administration as one that's full of fucking Nazis, but there you go. And, you know, the people who support this administration still are a bunch of Nazi sympathizers. So there's that, and a bunch of pedophile sympathizers, a bunch of racist sympathizers as well. I mean, after the whole Obama picture thing, when they showed a picture of Obama and Michelle Obama as Barack Obama and Michelle Obama as a bunch of apes, that's clearly a racist thing to do. And, you know, even though Donald Trump said sorry earlier in the show, as we showed, he didn't apologize apologize over that, and that's clear racism from this administration, from Donald Trump in general, and y'all still continue to support him. So that's just, what does that say about you and your morals and your ethics, right? Let's continue, shall we? Mr. Massey is up there. So again, we went to Crockett before Massey, but Massey apparently went before Crockett, and here is his questioning of Pam Bondi, one of the few Republicans who, at least on this issue, is worth a damn.
3 documents from the DOJ production that are emblematic of the massive failure of the DOJ to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act.
Scanning for deepfakes, McAfee says the biggest fake there is Pam Bondi.
To my right is an email that was sent by the victim's lawyers to the DOJ. It was a list of names not to redact. A list of names not to release. What did the DOJ do with this email? They released this email in the document production. Literally the worst thing you could do to the survivors, you did. And they're getting phone calls. A lot of these people didn't want to be known. And we know you touched the document because you redacted one name and you redacted the lawyer's name, but you left the survivor's name there. The next document I want to show you.
That just goes to show you that, you know, they are a bunch of idiots or worse, and probably both.
That was in the title, the victims' survivors' names, all right? The title of this one is Child Sex Trafficking, Co-Conspirators, fully redacted. And by the way, I'm going to unredact them here. Les Wexner is in this. Now, your your deputy attorney general said, oh, well, he appeared.
I like that. That's a good little showmanship that he did. Oh, they're redacted, but let's unredact them live. That's great.
There's hundreds of times in the files.
Yeah, Christy, exactly. It's weaponized idiocy.
But he doesn't appear in this file until I forced you to release it, where he's listed as a co-conspirator, not to tax evasion, but to child sex trafficking, not to prostitution, not to money laundering, child sex trafficking. And then finally, what we have here is the third exhibit that I have is emblematic of the FD 302 release. These are the documents that we need that you're holding on to and over-redacting because they have the names of the men who are implicated. How do we know? Because the survivors gave testimony to the FBI, and it's in there. And what happens when you go to the portal at the DOJ to look at what's behind this redaction? Another redaction. So we can't even see them. And then there's some of these files you've pulled down from the website that we will never see because we can't search the redactions. So I have several questions for you. Who's responsible? Are you able to track who in your organization made this massive failure and released the victims' names? Are you able to track who it was that obscured Les Wexner's name as a co-conspirator in an FBI document? Do you have that kind of accountability?
I believe Wexner's name was listed more than 4,000 times.
But it needs to be as a co-conspirator. I mean, his name could be listed, but you know, you redacted the thing about him being a co-conspirator. That's the issue here.
He told you that. This is where he's listed as a co-conspirator.
Can I finish my answer?
Exactly. I mean, again, I didn't watch this part of the whole thing either, but that made sense.
Sir, come on. Let me finish my answer. We corrected that within 40 minutes. He was already, you're acting like everybody's trying to cover up Wexner's name.
Reclaiming my time.
I'm going to answer this question.
Reclaiming my time. Mr. Chairman.
This is how this works.
Can I have my time back? Mr. Chairman.
The gentlelady can give her answer. The time belongs to the gentleman from Kentucky.
All right, I'm reclaiming my time.
Can I give my answer?
So I'm going to put the language of the bill up on the screen.
Chairman, may I give my answer on that? He's a political
question.
joke, and I need to give my answer on that.
He's a political joke because he actually is a Republican who has the balls to stand up and has the spine to say, look, what is happening here is wrong, and you're harming these people even further. You're victimizing these people even more, yet, you know, she doesn't want to admit it or see it or whatever.
We'll let the Attorney General respond, and then the gentleman can move.
Exactly, 250 kilo corrected after she was busted.
Chairman, it's my time.
Within 40 minutes, you asked me a question.
You can give
Within
me-
40 minutes, Wexner's name was added back.
Within 40 minutes of me catching you red-handed.
Red-handed.
Exactly.
There was one redaction out
Where
of
he's
over
listed as a
4,700,
co-conspirator.
and we invited you in.
Show the video.
This guy has Trump derangement syndrome.
Everyone has Trump derangement system. Again, the only derangement is continuing to support Donald Trump. And the fact that you should not be allowed to be someone up there as the head person, the chief lawyer of these United States. You should not be able to get up there and be treated and considered a professional by using TDS or Trump derangement syndrome. It's just absurd. She's just as childish, if not more, as the president.
He needs to get, you're a failed politician.
Gentlemen,
You need to
I
get
want
on
you to
these
watch the video.
matters.
Mr. Chairman, please restore his time and remind the witness of the rules here.
There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals.
Is that your position as well?
My position is
It's a yes or no question. A lot of times there's not yes or no questions. I'll be the first one to tell you that there are a lot of questions that are not yes or no. And sometimes they need more than a yes or no to give an adequate response. But is the position of Kash Patel the same position as yours? That's a yes or no question. And if he wants to expand on it, then expand on it. But is it yes or is it no? And that she's not willing to say yes or no on that particular question is very damning on her part.
victim who comes forward. Of course, we would love to hear from them.
Control 3232. Don't they worry about being on the wrong side of history? Doesn't who worry about being on the wrong side of history? Trump and MAGA? No, not one bit, because they think they're going to be on the right side of history, or they think that they're the ones who are going to write the history because they're the victors, and as such, if they get to write the history, then they don't care about it because they're going to redefine what the right side was by lying and manipulating and cheating the system.
1-800-CALL-FBI. Did you ask Merrick Garland that the last?
Did you ask this? But did you, again, take personal responsibility for your own actions? It didn't happen under Merrick Garland's watch. It happened under your watch. Answer the question for you, not for what other people did. If you believe that what Merrick Garland did, if you believe what Merrick Garland did was not correct, then you should not be using him as an excuse for you to continue to not do what he was doing.
4 years. Did you talk about Epstein?
I am reclaiming
at all
my
the
time.
last
I'm glad
4
you're
years?
asking about Merrick Garland.
You don't get to reclaim
because
time
this
when
is
you don't
bigger than.
He does get to reclaim time. Just because you want it to work that way doesn't mean that's the way it works.
Watergate.
When I don't answer a question the
this
way you
goes
want.
over 4 administrations. You don't have to go back to Biden. Let's go back to Obama. Let's go back to George Bush. This cover-up spans decades, and you are responsible for this portion of it.
And that's
now,
where the
I want to know at what point did the FBI and the DOJ decide that Lex Wessner was not a co-conspirator? Because our Epstein Files Transparency Act requires you, please put it back on the screen, please, to release the internal decision about whether to prosecute him or not, and it's not in the files, and it's not in the files for any of these other men.
Time of the gentleman has expired.
May she answer?
And he's a hypocrite because he voted against the ban that we were talking about on deep fake AI porn. Only 2
What?
people voted against it, and you were one of them, hypocrite.
The gentleman's time has expired.
You didn't answer the question.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Chairman, could she answer the question?
Chairman, I was wondering.
The gentlelady's allowed, the Attorney General's allowed to respond the way she wants to respond to any member's questions, Republican, Democrat.
All right, I have unanimous consent request.
Gentleman's recognized for a UC.
All right. This is an example. I'm submitting these 302 forms that are entirely redacted, even when you go to look at them.
Without objection.
I'm submitting a witness statement that implicates Les Wexner.
Without objection.
I'm submitting an article from the New York Times that the DOJ released nude photos and identifiable pictures of the victims. I'm submitting a letter from A.G. Bondi to Kash Patel, imploring him to quit keeping the files when you found out that they were keeping files from you. because they're
Without
still redacting files that you...
Chairman, are we going to recess for votes?
Yes, we are.
I'm submitting for unanimous consent a document of 17 individuals who've resigned because of the Epstein files.
Without objection.
All right, so that's all that he submitted. Ronnie Paul over on Twitch goes, Democrats support sanctuary cities. Again, you were in here when I talked about sanctuary cities before. There's no such thing as a sanctuary city. There's no such thing as a sanctuary state, because states do not have the authority under the Constitution to handle, deal with, whatever, immigration and naturalization laws, because that is an authority that's given to Congress in Article 1, Section 8. It is an authority that's given to the federal government, and as such, it is not a power that is obtained by the states via the 10th Amendment of the Constitution. So you can't go sitting there and say, oh, they don't, the sanctuary cities, blah, 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 allow this, blah, blah, blah. No. It is the responsibility of the federal government, and the federal government only, to handle naturalization immigration policies. And if one of those people committed one of those crimes that you listed, then the states can go after them and punish them for said crimes. But it's not the responsibility of the state to just hand the people over to this administration. Furthermore, when this administration goes after not just those people who you cited, but when the federal government goes after people who are working here legally, when they detain and deport 100 cruise ship workers who were Filipino descent, who were here with legal working permits, when they deport them for no fucking reason, when this administration detains citizens, when this administration detains and deports other people who are here legally, or go after them because they had a crime like 10 years ago, like a pot charge, like the PhD student who from South Korea who came into San Francisco airport after visiting family for a wedding in South Korea, and they detained him for months because of a pot charge that he did community service for 10 fucking years ago. He's not the worst of the worst. He's not one of those bad hombres, yet the administration is going after those people and is not going after the people who are the rapists and the murderers and the pedophiles and etc. They're not going after them. Legality is not what they're worried about. This administration is targeting people with fear. This administration is targeting communities with fear. They are trying to cause people to want to leave regardless of whether or not they're here legally or not, because their hope is that they'll make it so toxic in this country for you to be here if you're not white that it's going to make the people just want to not be here anymore. And you probably sit there and applaud that and support that, because if you're supporting this white supremacist administration, you're supporting that bullshit too. If this was about legality, if this was about the bad hombres, the worst of the worst, then they would be going after the bad hombres and the worst of the worst. They would be making sure that the people that they're detaining and or deporting are people who are not here legally and who are causing problems. They wouldn't be going after the people who are just simply working here and not causing harm to anybody else. But you don't give a shit about that. All you give a shit about is being a racist bigot. And that's it. Capiche? Anyway, let's move on. I think we have 3 other folks that we're going to go after. We're going to cover. So, Ponder Monkey, Ronnie Paul, let me guess, you still believe in Manifest Destiny and Santa Claus too? Yeah. Anyway, let's continue, and we're going to hear from Representative Jayapal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Attorney General Bondi, right here. We are joined in this room by some of the thousands of survivors from Jeffrey Epstein's horrific...
Brondo, bro. Brondo, it's what plants craves. MAGA supports sanctuary White House that will allow rapists and pedophiles to hide and arrest federal agents. They don't care about Epstein victims. Bravo to that, Brondo, bro. Love the username. Thank you for the first time chat, and love the comment. Excellent comment.
Horrific sex trafficking ring. They have shown such incredible courage in speaking out, in demanding accountability to bring the predators and pedophiles to justice. The Epstein Files Transparency Act required your Department of Justice to disclose the perpetrators connected with Epstein's criminal activities and to redact the information of survivors to protect their identities. Let me show you what actually happened. First, in violation of the law, your department has shown a pattern of redacting the names of powerful predators.
Again, if it was just once or twice, you could say it was a mistake. If it's multiple, if it's a lot of them or most of them, that's a pattern. MAGA folks won't understand the difference.
Here behind me is one example of an email from Epstein to a man whose name was redacted. The email reads, quote, "Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video." Only after members of Congress demanded that we see the unredacted files did the world learn the name of this individual, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayman, the chairman and CEO of a company that had financial ties to President Trump's business and personal ties to Trump's advisor, Steve Bannon.
Well then.
Second, the survivors were not similarly protected, also in violation of the law. Here is another email titled Epstein
I think that's the same thing that we saw from Massey.
Victim List. We have blurred the names of the survivors for their protection, but your Department of Justice initially released this list of 32 survivors' names with only one name redacted, along with numerous files that disclose not only the names, the emails, and the addresses of survivors, but also nude photographs and even the identities of Jane Does who had been protected for decades until your department released their names. Survivors are now telling us that their families are finding out for the first time that they were trafficked by Epstein. In their words, quote, "This release does not provide closure. It feels like a deliberate attempt to intimidate survivors, punish those who came forward, and reinforce the same culture of secrecy that allowed Epstein's crimes to continue for decades." To the survivors in the room, if you are willing, please stand. And if you are willing, please raise your hands if you have still not been able to meet with this Department of Justice.
And many of them raised
the
their
record
hands.
That every single survivor has raised their hand. Attorney General.
I guess every single survivor in that room has raised their hands, but again, notice what Pam Bondi did not do. She did not turn around to look at the people who were raising their hands, to look at those survivors who were raising their hands, because she doesn't give a shit about the people who are victims. She only gives a shit about protecting her pedophile-loving president.
Bondi, you apologized to the survivors in your opening statement for what they went through at the hands of Jeffrey Epstein. Will you turn to them now and apologize for what your Department of Justice has put them through with the absolutely unacceptable release of the Epstein files and their information?
Crickets.
Congresswoman, you set before Merrick Garland.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Merrick Garland has nothing to do with your failures to protect these people. Merrick Garland's actions or lack thereof have nothing to do with what you did to these survivors, with what you did to these victims, what you did to the people who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked. Nothing to do with your actions. You're going to hide behind Merrick Garland? This person needs to fuck off. Bondi just needs to fuck the fuck off.
In this chair twice.
Attorney General Bondi.
No, can I finish my answer?
No.
That's not an answer. It's a dodge.
Oh, I'm going to reclaim my time because I asked you a specific question that I would like you to answer, which is, will you turn to the survivors? This is not about anybody that came before you. It is about you taking responsibility for your Department of Justice and the harm that it has done to the survivors who are standing right behind you and are waiting for you to turn to them and apologize for what your Department of Justice has done.
Members get to ask the questions, the witness gets to answer in the way they want to answer. The Attorney General can
That's
respond.
not accurate, Mr. Chairman.
Because she doesn't like the answer. So
she's not answering.
Mr. Chairman,
why
I have asked
didn't she ask Merrick Garland this?
I am
Twice,
reclaiming
when he
my
sat in my
time, and
chair.
when I
will
reclaim my
continue to
time,
answer.
it is
Mr. Chairman, the gentlelady's reclaimed her
I'm not going
time.
to get in the gutter for her theatrics.
I'm not getting in the gutter for her theatrics. Yeah, you're not doing anything. You belong in the gutter. You belong in the sewer.
Time belongs.
Actually, I wouldn't want to do that to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because if you were in the sewer with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you'd probably allow Epstein and Trump and everyone else to have their way with him too.
So the time belongs to the gentlelady. The gentlelady has 17 seconds.
Thank you. You're not going to answer this question, so let me just
Chairman,
say this.
I'll direct it to
what
you.
a massive
No, I'm
cover-up.
answering a
Mr.
question.
Chairman, will you restore her time? The witness is
I'm not going to
interrupted.
get in the gutter with this woman.
Stop the
She's
time.
I'm not getting in the gutter with this woman. You belong in the gutter. You came from the gutter. You probably spew forth from the gutter.
theatrics.
Let me have my time.
The gentlelady from Washington controls the time. The gentlelady has 17 seconds. You can proceed with your final
Thank you.
17 seconds.
What a massive cover-up this has been and continues to be. Donald Trump made the release of the Epstein files the center of his political campaign because he thought it would benefit him. Then you got into office, Attorney General, claimed to have a client list, only
Regular
to
order.
then say that there was no list. Your deputy, Todd Blanche, met alone with Elaine Maxwell and transferred her to a minimum security prison. And now you continue the cover-up. And I wish that you would turn around to the survivors who are standing right behind you and on a human level,
Chairman,
Chair now recognizes the chair.
and what you have done.
Time of the gentlelady
yield
expired.
back.
The gentlelady, you have no time to yield back. We appreciate that. We appreciate the thought.
Support journalism you trust.
Support Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from left is right. But yeah, no, it's absurd. It's absolutely 100% absurd that she can't even be bothered to just simply turn around and apologize for the, again, as it was said incorrectly in chat by Christine, responsibility, apologize. These are foreign woke concepts. Of course, Donald Trump actually used the word sorry on Truth Social, apologizing for endorsing a particular governor who's the head of the Governors Association of America, or whatever it is, the whatever National Association of Governors, whatever. But yeah, they would never apologize for anything that they did, like public policy-wise, especially for the harm that they did, because she's not sorry about protecting President Trump and protecting pedophiles, because that's her job. Her job should be to protect the victims of Epstein, but her job in reality that she was hired to do was to protect Trump and to protect Trump's allies and protect all the people that could go down with the ship if the entirety of the names were released and it was shown what these crimes were. So... all right, we got two more. We got Biggs and then Lofgren. So let's handle these two more, and then we'll finish off the show probably at that point till Monday. Because again, just as a reminder for everybody, the parade Muses in New Orleans is one of my wife's favorite parades. It's always on the Thursday before Mardi Gras, and we will be going to attend Muses, which means I can't do a show. At least I can't do any sort of show beyond like streaming from my phone. So maybe I might hop on for a smidge and be like, hey, it's me from the parade route, haha. But other than that, no. We are not going to be having a full-on show like as normal on Thursday nights. So we'll have to wait till Monday to have a show. Anyway, let's continue.
General Bondi for being here today. In 2022, Lafarge, which is a French cement company, pled guilty.
Is that Geordie Lafarge from Star Trek? I'm sorry.
In U.S. federal court to participating in a criminal conspiracy with ISIS. That conspiracy contributed to the deaths of U.S. service members fighting in Syria during Operation Inherent Resolve. As part of the plea agreement, Lafarge was required to pay more than $775 million to DOJ's Asset Forfeiture Fund. In February 2025, my colleagues and I sent you a letter urging the department to review the petitions for remission submitted by the families of those fallen service members, including several of my constituents. The previous administration ignored these victims and our requests and left their petitions unresolved. My question for you on this particular issue is if you're willing to work to ensure those families that their petitions will be reviewed and brought to a resolution.
Congressman, we are aware of that, and we're committed to doing everything we can to support the victims and work with you.
Again, this is another example of where the administration fucked up. Sorry, because they should have actually had that plan and be like, yes, we are doing, and these are the steps that we're doing, instead of it's like, I'm aware and we're looking into it or whatever. So major ineptitude on the part of this administration as it comes to their coordination with Congress.
Thank you for that question.
Yeah, appreciate your answer. And now let's go to something that is also pressing that I've been working on for years, and this is the FISA Section 702 and Arctic frost. In January 2025, you testified before the U.S. Senate and agreed with Senators
let's skip ahead with this.
Continue to keep
By others, Arctic frost, everything that have our my fellow.
Have you been able to ascertain any legal predicate?
Congressman, what I can tell you today is that has been referred to my office.
Okay, we're not gonna deal with this one. I thought this one might have had something that was good with it, but we'll go ahead and just we'll jump ahead to Lofgren. And this will be the last one we go over tonight.
Mr. Chairman, I would note that Mr. Nadler's question has not yet been answered, but I want to start by asking that out of respect for the American public and the Epstein survivors, some of whom, of course, are here today, that we can have a transparent conversation and get the public the answers they deserve.
Well, good luck on that one.
I want to briefly direct your attention to two documents I'm hoping we will put up on the screen. In the first, an individual emails Jeffrey Epstein asking whether a woman identified as M was pro or civilian, and Epstein responds that she was a civilian, Russian, and fun. In the second email, Epstein writes to Steve Tisch about a Ukrainian girl, noting that she was, quote, a little freaked out by the age difference and stating that he would try to convince her not to return to Ukraine. He then instructs Mr. Tisch to call him, adding, I don't like records of these conversations.
Well, of course he doesn't.
So I'd like to ask a straightforward question that really is either a yes or no answer. Do these
She doesn't like yes or no questions or answers.
emails constitute credible evidence, not proof, but credible evidence warning further investigation into whether Steve Tisch was involved in Epstein's criminal conduct? Do you think yes or no?
I'm not going to play a yes-no game with you, but I will
I'm not going to play a yes-no game with you. It's a yes or no question, dumbass.
answer the question to the best of my ability. As I said, we will look and investigate any case involving any victim. I'm not familiar. There were 3
I don't believe you.
million pages, of course, with that email. But of course, we will look into anything. The documents have been released, 3 million. The redacted versions, we left them open for all of you to come view. Have you? I believe you view them. If not, will you have some copies?
I'd like to.
But could I finish, please? I'm not
Can I finish, please? It's a yes or no question, but I want to finish with my bullshit.
being rude. Please.
I only have 5 minutes.
No, yeah, and I only have 30 seconds based on your filibustering.
But you didn't
Yes or no?
give a yes or no answer. So let me just go further. Director Patel testified in this committee room that there was no credible information indicating that Epstein trafficked victims to anyone else. And glancing at the documents, that proves that's not the case. In July, your department...
At least he would have been smarter if he said, I am unaware of any credible evidence. That's what he should have said. But, you know, obviously they're saying flat out no because they're trying to defend their president for the indefensible.
Issued a memo stating that it had conducted an exhaustive review of the Epstein files and concluded that no additional individuals would be charged. So I did go over to the Department of Justice yesterday. I would note that 400 and all our 35 members are in the House, and there's 4 computers. So it would.
So every day, four a day or whatever, it's going to take probably at least 50 to 100 days to get all that done, assuming, you know, they just briefly look at the files. If they try to look at all the files, well, then, you know, who knows?
Take many months to actually have the time. I only had a few hours. I think the transparency argument is really kind of a sham because it's not really possible.
Whoa. Did you have to wait to get a computer?
It is not possible to,
hang on.
to really go.
If there are millions of pages and you only have 4 computers available, then it's very, very difficult to, you know, for you to be able to sit there and get through all of the files when the other 431 members of the House and 100 members of the Senate are not able, are also wanting to look at those files, at least those who give a shit about the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. So maybe you can cut that number in half, because clearly half of the people who are serving in Congress, with the exception of Massey, i.e. the Republicans, don't give a shit about the victims of Epstein and are more worried about protecting President Trump than they are worried about, you know, protecting and giving victims justice, giving the survivors the justice that they need, the justice that they deserved. And yes, Karen Ames says a lot of those are still redacted, which this entire presidency could be redacted.
I did, however, see a U.S. attorney information for the Southern District of New York indicating that there were additional survivors and probable co-conspirators. Other members of Congress have uncovered likely co-conspirators whose names were blocked out. Now, the Epstein File Transparency Act, which all but one member of this House voted for and the president signed, requires the department to release everything except that it needs to be redacted to protect the victims or an ongoing prosecution, which apparently there is none from the testimony we have received. I am concerned that this
If there's a difference between ongoing investigation and ongoing prosecution, remember that.
Act has not been fully complied with.
Oh, the act hasn't been fully complied with. That was signed into law by Donald Trump, but...
No one is above the law in this country.
Who said that? Oh, that was Pam Bondi who said...
No one is above the law in this country.
What was that?
No one is above the law in this country.
Again, except for her own office.
When Director Patel came to the committee, he admitted that up to 1,000 FBI agents had gone through the files and redacted President Trump's name from them. And it's pretty clear that what has been transmitted from the FBI continues to redact President Trump's name, even though he is mentioned, you know, thousands of times in these files. So I think the credibility of the department in terms of complying with the act has been damaged. And I think the department's credibility has been damaged in other ways. I think we all saw the horrible video of American citizens being killed by ICE agents in Minneapolis. And I think how the department has handled these cases raises a lot of doubt about the department.
You think?
State and local police in Minnesota got a court order to get access to the crime scene to be sure.
Karen Ames, they need that soundbite to play in Congress in front of Bondi. What, you mean this one?
No one is above the law in this country.
I mean, yeah, they can have it all they want. It's not my property. They are free to use it because it's her words that she stated.
No one is above the law in this country.
Just that should be playing constantly in her ear. Somebody should follow her behind her, just constantly hitting.
No one is above the law in this country. No one is above the law in this country.
Whenever she makes up an excuse for somebody who she's allowing to be above the law in the country, what do they play in her ear?
No one is above the law in this country.
Evidence would be properly preserved by federal agents. But they took the agents defied the court order, and in a departure from general policy, the DOJ is not collaborating with state and local law enforcement on these homicides. So I really think that is a disgraceful approach to the homicides of American citizens, and really does nothing to bring credit to your department. And Mr. Chairman, I would yield back.
Gentleman yields back.
May I answer?
Attorney General,
May I answer? May I give bullshit? Because I need to give bullshit because that's what I do.
Respond.
I find it interesting that she keeps going after President Trump, the greatest president in American history. And
That's the part I was waiting for the most. Her saying the greatest part of a president in American history. Oh my God, he's the greatest. He's so wonderful. God bless Donald Trump. Oh my God. I mean, that's why South Park put brown on her nose every time she started talking.
And if they could maintain their composure, this isn't a circus. This is
You're making it a circus there, Pam.
a hearing. I find it interesting she keeps going after Donald Trump. She doesn't say how much money she took from Reid Hoffman, did you? None. And
What does that have to do with anything? Again.
nor did
Mr.
she
Chairman,
post
regular
anything.
order, please.
She
Regular
posted
order.
nothing.
Regular order. Ham and cheese on rye, please. Hold the mayo. I mean, Donald Trump must be fucking her. I mean, Although, I don't know. Is that true? Do you think that Donald Trump is having sex with Pam Bondi? Because one might say, well, only somebody who is, that enamored with Donald Trump would be trying to defend him that much and would be that much in love with him. He's the greatest president ever. Or maybe he hasn't yet, and maybe that's why she's defending him. So maybe if she had a taste of Orange Folius's microgreens or whatever he has down his pants or whatever, once you get around all the shit that's down there after he shits himself, maybe she would realize, oh, maybe he's not somebody that you should be defending like that, or maybe she wouldn't be that passionate about him and his defense or whatever. But I don't know, so I guess I'll leave that up to y'all whether or not you think it's more or less likely that she and Trump are bumping uglies or whatever. I mean, I'm sorry for the horrible thought or whatever, but goddamn, they talk about Trump derangement system. That is the most deranged, unhinged thing that you could have possibly done. He's the best president we've ever had. Yeah, no, that's derangement right there. Exactly.
On her X account, on her Twitter account, during the Biden year.
Oh, she called it Twitter. Oh no, she dead named Twitter. Elon Musk is going to be mad.
Gentle lady.
Yeah, now all of a sudden,
question
she's
asked.
going after
Committee will be in
order.
There was no question
be in
asked
order.
of the Attorney General. She doesn't just get to speak.
Committee will be in order.
I have a point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Committee will be in order.
Point of order, Mr.
Gentle
Chairman.
lady can state her point of order.
When a witness attacks...
Not a valid point of order. You got to state.
She hasn't completed her point of order yet. Please let her speak, Mr. Chairman. Let's have some regular order here.
Regular order is you got to state the rule. And
I am trying to make a point of order that the witness,
and what rule are you referring to?
Without responding to a question, has attacked me personally. I think it's pathetic that she can't answer the questions and instead is attacking
that is not even close to a point of order.
Support.
Yeah, that's not a point of order, sure, but yeah, again, it's still a point of ridiculousness that has happened by this administration or whatever. Again, that was the part I did want to, and actually I didn't even remember who she had said Donald Trump is the greatest president alive. He's the greatest president. I didn't even remember that it was that particular congressperson, it was Loeffler's testimony. I'm so happy that I ended with that, because that just goes to completely show how 100% unhinged Pam Bondi is and has no business being there. I mean, so far up Donald Trump's ass, you could taste the cheeseburgers as they're coming out. So anyway, no, Bondi didn't, says Alyosha. Anyway, my mind, thanks, Dan. Lord, I apologize for giving you that in your head. Maybe should say this instead.
It's like I took the wrong week to quit drinking.
Yeah, anyway, so yeah, we are going to take that as that Pam Bondi's level of unhingedness and have that be the end of this week's episode of Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left. That's right. Again, just as another reminder, I'll try and post it on some social media as well tomorrow or sometime tonight. We are not having a show tomorrow night. Normally we are on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Central. I'm going to a Mardi Gras parade tonight. It's possible that we might want to go to a Mardi Gras parade Monday night as well, because it's Bacchus and it's also kind of a big parade that we sometimes want to go to. And I don't know if we'll get to go to the Saturday parades because of the rain that's coming in. Just so, again, I am available. I will post on YouTube a comment that, hey, I whether or not I am going to be live or not on Monday evening. I also will post it on social media channels, Liberal Dan Radio on Facebook. Shockingly enough, one of my videos has gotten a lot of hits on Facebook, on Liberal Dan Radio on Facebook, facebook.com/Liberal Dan Radio. So apparently, it's gotten a whole 50,000 views. I was actually kind of shook that my videos have taken off in other places. So, Christine, take her. I'll have to go bleach my brain after that mental image from Liberal Dan Radio. We're going to need to talk about some other things about actually attractive people doing things with each other, and include that in Liberal Dan Radio After Dark, because to kind of mind cleanse us all from that stuff. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Appreciate you. Remember, if you haven't hit the like button yet, smash that like button on the way out. Like, share, subscribe. Go share videos, especially if you like the songs. Try and get them trending. Go check it out on Spotify. Share the Spotify links to the songs. Share the YouTube links to the songs. It's on the Resist playlist on Spotify for Liberal Dan Radio. Liberal Dan Radio, most other places. If I'm not someplace with Liberal Dan Radio, let me know and I'll make sure to get there. Alyosha goes, need mouth and brainwash with that last description. Again, Lord, I apologize. Anyway, Thank you so much for watching. Appreciate you. Apologize for whatever. Maybe I'll try and post the song real quick after the show is over. But until then, either Monday or Wednesday. It could very well be Wednesday the next time I come in the air. Again, just watch my social media channels, and I will make sure that the mods know. I'll make sure that Andrea knows. I'll make sure that everybody else knows if I'm going to be live Monday or not. We will see. But thank you all very much. Have a great one, and peace.
Treason if Joe's the name. Is patriotism when Donald's to blame? Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, phone numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd shout no way. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
They wrote it in the laws, ink still bleeds. Treating women like soil, just planting seeds. She's gone, brain dead, not even awake. But the state's got a claim, gonna plant its stake. Say it's God's will, say it's life they protect. But they ain't the ones feeling pain or neglect. From Texas to Georgia, they set the trap. Rights roll back while they smile and clap. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. This ain't pro-life, it's control and shame. They don't care if she's gone, just playing a game. Keep her hooked to machines, cold and still. Just a vessel to them, not a human with will. No consent, no voice, no chance to resist.
I like
just
turtles.
laws in place, written with a clenched fist. Hospitals scared, judges playing God. Bodies ain't temples, just stay on pods. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Bands in the dark, they don't care who it kills. Sacking courts while they strip out all of your wills. But we'll fight back, march loud, burn bright. Cause this ain't the end, it's the start of the fight. Gilead's here, grace, and those leopards are coming to eat your face. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator.
Obama and Bush's pictures got hidden, obscuring the past, history rewritten, hung in a hallway where no tour can see, confirming his unending fragility. If Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list, object permanence, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. The testing was the line that he said. Hundreds of thousands needlessly dead. Now HHS is run by brainworm quack, hiding the truth behind his back. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list, an administration run by narcissists. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Of documents stacked floor to the wall, top secret folders in a bathroom stall. Charges were pressed, but the case was dropped. A corrupt judicial system he can co-opt. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That includes the Epstein list. He'll swear it's fake news, a liberal twist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Downtown tents lining the street, invisible people that power won't beat. Hide them away so the cameras can't find it. Proof of a system that's cold and unkind. A payout in secret, an NDA sign, an illegal bribe. Michael Cohen fine. Trump got fined too over his gag order, but she didn't gag, cause he was much shorter. It must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. We can't let him win, we must resist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist.
The creative director at WGSO had a little something he thought you should know. When Dan picked on his bits, Steve got real gruff. So Steve called Dan a flake, called him liberal dandruff. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest. Steve's about to find out his mistake. In this feud, Dan's Kendrick, Steve is Drake. Dan might not be the world's best singer, but he's got more talent in his little finger. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest.